Chen was so down bad, everyone treated him like free XP, and the girl he was simping for? The second the apocalypse hit the news, she upgraded to a richer guy, then helped him beat the poor bastard senseless and loot everything he owned. Bro got dumped and looted before the apocalypse even clocked in. Then he unlocked the most disrespectful system in existence, the scumbag system. Every time Chen makes a gold digger lose her mind, he earns scumbag coins. So he started hoarding bitches. And now he can buy everything. Food? Buy it. Legendary gear? Buy it. Broken powers? Why not? So every gold digger trying to play Chen was secretly paying for his next power-up. Back to early arc. 3 guys and a woman had Chen cornered. The woman snatched the bun right out of his hand and told him to hand it over. Another guy shoved him hard, knocking him down to the cold floor. Chen, his voice shaking with anger, asked what right she had to steal his supplies. The woman laughed and said that because the apocalypse had arrived, she, as a lady, needed to stockpile supplies, and that she had power and influence while he was just a worthless nobody. She leaned down and taunted that if he had the guts, he should take it back from her. Chen slowly raised his trembling hands and demanded she give it back. The other guys stomped on him, boots grinding into his back. The woman pointed down at him and said that was what they called powerless rage. No skills, just a pathetic weakling. After beating him, the guys walked away, chatting like they'd just finished a coffee break. One guy said he was a poor loser living in a basement, just cannon fodder, and whether he lived or died, he was only there to be a stepping stone for them. The other guy laughed and said some people were just born to be workhorses, and if hard work could change fate, the village donkey would rule the world. They laughed at him and walked off. Chen, still struggling on the ground, kept whispering to give it back. The woman asked what the matter was. If he was not happy about it, then stomped on his hand with her heel and told him too bad, to suck it up. Chen cried out in pain. The woman spat down at him, saying losers like him deserved to never get a goddess, that he could not even afford a bathroom yet dreamed of dating a rich, beautiful woman, and even if he wanted to be her lapdog, she would still find him disgusting. Then she added that she forgot to tell him Yili had already chosen her brother, and he should stop coveting things that did not belong to him, or else she would beat him to death just to entertain them. Chen thought of Lin Beiwei and Lin Yili, the names burning into his brain, and vowed he would never let them go. Never. Then a system notification blasted in his head. Extreme revenge value had been detected. The scumbag system was activating. Binding was in progress. Then binding succeeded. A number flashed across his vision. 9 trillion scumbag credits had been issued. The host could use these credits in the revenge mall to spend on women and lure them in. Chen froze. A scumbag system? There was actually a system like this in this world? He paused and then questioned, wait, spending on women? After being humiliated like that, the damn system still wanted him to be a simp. The audacity. The system replied smoothly that the host could lure gold diggers and then slap them in the face. The anger value generated by gold diggers would be converted into spending credits at a 100-fold rate. Chen's eyes went wide. 100-fold? That meant he could even spend all of that 9 trillion credit balance. It was amazing. He demanded the system quickly give him a gold digger, since he was insanely powerful now. The system added that any losses the host had incurred had been exchanged for similar items at a 100-fold market price, and placed in the personal space gifted by the system as a newcomer bonus. Chen thought a newbie bonus too? He smiled, the pain from the beating already fading into the background. Then he thought of Beiwei. They had all humiliated him, and now he would use this system to destroy every single one of them. A red-haired woman appeared in front of him, snapping her fingers, asking who he was and what he was doing sitting there. She told him to get lost and not to stare, and that he should not think he could fake an injury with some ketchup and scam her. She declared she would not give him a single cent, and definitely would not give him any supplies. Defensive from the jump, Chen looked up at her and asked if she was that broke, nothing at all. Then he said no worries. He pulled his hand back, reached into seemingly nothing, got a bread and handed it to her, saying he was in a good mood today and would reward her. The red-haired woman, Chu Hai, felt her anger value increase by 32, converted at a 100-fold rate into the host's spending balance. The current balance was 3,200. Chen thought the system was legit and rewarded her with more goods, telling her if it was not enough, since she was good-looking, he would give her more. Hao looked at the big bag in her hands and thought he looked dirt poor, wondering if he had just given her all his supplies. The system notified that Hao's affection had increased by 10 and that Goddess Strategy Mode had activated. If the host chose to pursue her, reaching 100 affection points would count as a successful conquest. Once successfully conquered, all resources and credits she spent would be fully refunded to the host's personal space. Chen thought the system even had side quests. This thing was loaded. Hao clutched the bag and asked if those supplies were really for her. Chen said yes, and if it was not enough, she could come back for more after she finished. He told her he lived in the basement, first floor underground, to take the elevator, turn left, third door, and not to knock on the wrong one that night. Smooth operator. The system notification announced Hao's affection had increased by 20. Hao looked at him differently now, thinking a generous man Chen looked so handsome. The system stated current affection was 30, spending balance 588. Upon successful conquest, the host would receive a private balance of 5,800 and all the supplies spent on How would be fully refunded. Chen celebrated internally. This was going to be too easy. After he entered the apartment through the elevator, he spotted a guy and a woman standing in the hallway. There was Yili with her man. Chen thought to himself, grinning, that the ATM was online. Our boy was back in business. The woman snapped her head toward him and asked Chen how he had gotten up there. Chen asked back, what, was the elevator locked? The guy with her puffed up his chest and said he knew what Chen was trying to do, that he couldn't win over the goddess. So now he was there trying to take back everything he gave, maybe even get some compensation for his emotional trauma, right? The smirk on his face was punchable. Chen looked at the woman and told her that even wearing broken shoes, she wasn't afraid of hurting her feet. The woman fired back that Chen was just slandering her because he couldn't have her. Her rage level increased by 56. Chen shrugged and said okay, as for A-tier girls he would pass. Hard pass. The woman shouted, you! The guy near her told her not to waste her breath on someone like him. Let's see how long he could keep acting tough with no resources. Yili's rage level increased by 78. The numbers were already climbing. Just then Ha appeared, and the guy near Chen practically short-circuited. He thought that How, the campus goddess, was from Nanda. He had moved there just for her, and now they finally met. Destiny, he probably thought. The guy stepped forward and said hello to Miss Chu, but Ha completely ignored him. Her eyes locked on Chen. She walked right up and said, oh, it's you, asking how he got up there. And didn't she tell him to come find her tonight? The guy's brain visibly melted. What? How could that loser possibly know the great beauty Chu? He froze like a statue. Yili caught him as he swayed, calling out, young Master Lin, young Master Lin. Chen laughed to himself and thought that this was what they call one act of boldness, a lifetime of introversion. The guy was done for. Chen said he came up to, oh no, just handle some personal stuff. He was just about to go out and restock supplies. Did she want to come with? How said the apocalypse has been going on for days now, and prices outside had skyrocketed. She thought she might as well bring him along to test his capabilities. Smart girl. Chen thought a bag of bread that used to cost 8 yuan now went for 160. Why waste money like that? Inflation in the apocalypse was criminal. Chen casually handed food rations to Hao and told her that he had told her if she didn't have enough, she could just get it from him. And it's dangerous for a woman to go out alone. Yili asked where the hell he got so much food. Chen turned to her and said she should show that flirty attitude from earlier again. Maybe he would reward her with a lollipop. Yili shouted, you, and her rage level increased by 113. Chen asked what she meant by you. Wasn't Yili a top student in the broadcasting department? How come she couldn't even argue properly? Or was her only talent pretending to be sweet at midnight thanking her #1 gifter? Devastating, Yili shrieked that Chen was a damn loser. How dare he humiliate her? The guy tried to comfort her, patting her shoulder uselessly. Yili's rage level increased by 278. Chen said that was all it took to break her? Her mental resilience was pathetic. Hao asked if he would live at her place from now on. The apocalypse was here, and she needed a bodyguard anyway. Chen considered it and said he would stay, but he needed his own private space and quiet. He is a light sleeper. Perfect. He needed a woman to help boost his credit limit, and she needed a safety in the apocalypse. Mutual benefit. The guy's jaw hit the floor. What the hell? Yili screamed. Chen, and her rage level increased by 511. The system popped up. Total rage generated this time was 1036, converted at 100x multiplier to the host's credit limit. Current credit limit, 106,800. House favorability increased by 20. Current favorability 50. Total spending 1,132. Upon successful romance, the host would receive 130,200 private credit limit and obtain all of House spent resources. Chen thought just getting started and already over 200k in assets. This felt amazing. Absolutely amazing. Hao tilted her head and asked Chen if he had magic or something. How could he just conjure up so much food out of thin air? Chen said just assume he did. Anyway, he always kept his word. Then she came slinking close to Chen, her tone suddenly sweet, and said he was being so nice to her on purpose. Could it be that he liked her? The switch-up was instant. Chen asked if he said no. Would she believe him? Hao said she wouldn't unless he rejected her outright. Chen got up from the sofa and said he was hungry. Let's cook something. Deflection successful. Hao thought he actually resisted her temptation. Chen was getting more and more interesting to her. Chen was in the kitchen cutting vegetables and thought just got to favorability 50 and already she was ready to go. He was most afraid of biomutant queens. Good thing he held back. On the TV news, the anchor reported breaking news. A severe cold wave would hit tonight. Temperatures would drop below freezing, accompanied by strong winds winds and heavy rain, citizens should take precautions. Chen thought with the arrival of the apocalypse, extreme weather was inevitable. Up next would be power outages, communication breakdowns, water, electricity and gas being cut off, mutations of species. He kept cutting. The lights flickered and died. Hao asked why the power just went out. The cold wave hadn't even hit yet. Her voice had a hint of worry now. As the power went out, somebody started pounding on the door, demanding they open up and open the door for a neighborhood routine inspection. The knocking was aggressive, not the polite kind. As Hao moved toward the door, Chen warned her to wait a second. Hao asked what was wrong, saying that the neighborhood committee did routine checks every month. So what was the issue? Chen said that yeah, they did them monthly, but it hadn't even been half a month since the last one. His math was sharp. Hao wondered if it could be because of the water and power outages. Maybe they were checking for illegal appliances. Chen said illegal appliances. What did she think this was? A college dorm? Hao's rage level increased by 13, converted to 1300 private credit, and the current limit reached 108,100. Even in a crisis, the points kept flowing. Chen added that for water and power outages in residential buildings, it should be property management checking, not the neighborhood committee. Something was off. Chen took a knife and hid it behind his arm, and both of them moved toward the door cautiously. From outside, they shouted that they had heard them talking in there, and to open up now. Looking through the door hole, they saw a middle-aged woman and two guys. Chen suddenly called out that he was sorry, but their relationship was a bit improper, so it wasn't convenient to open the door, and suggested they try the next house. Hao was surprised and thought, what the hell? Chen thought human nature really couldn't stand the test. The natural disaster hadn't even started yet, and here came the man-made one. Classic. The guy in blue shouted that he didn't care what kind of relationship they had. Routine inspection meant open the damn door. The woman muttered that young people these days really didn't care about appearances, huh? Another guy with purple hair said they now had reason to believe the water and power outage in that building was caused by the two of them. Hao shouted for them to calm down. Chen told Hao to get behind him. He didn't want her getting hurt by accident. Hao thought she didn't expect it. Chen was not only generous but was protecting her without thinking about his own safety. Chen thought, if she got hurt, who was he going to use to boost his credit? The system announced that Hao's favorability had increased by 10, current favorability 60. Chen thought, that raised her favorability? If he cooked a meal, was she going to throw herself at him? Our boy was learning the game fast. The woman kicked the door open. Hao was scared. Chen covered Hao and thought, even that didn't scare them off? Looked like this was going to be tricky. The woman's eyes landed on the table inside and she exclaimed that there was food. Look, so much food. The blue cap guy said with those supplies, they had a chance to survive. The purple hair guy shouted that it was all his. Greed took over instantly. Chen stepped forward and said he was sorry but someone in the family had passed away. These were offerings, and he asked if they wanted to take food meant for the dead. The woman replied that since he cared so much about the dead, why didn't he go join them? Cold. Chen, with the knife in his hand, said he had said it was for the dead, and cut the woman's throat. Clean and fast. Everyone was shocked, frozen in place. Chen said if they wanted it so badly, go for it. The guys with her shouted, damn it, kill him. Chen immediately switched gears, saying sorry big bros, all this food was theirs, and begged them to have mercy and let them go. The guys hesitated for a second, thinking at least he knew his place, and snatched the food bag from Chen. Chen told them to take care big bros, and to come hang out sometime if they were free. They went out of the room saying let's go. Chen killed the purple hair guy from behind, silent and sudden. Hao screamed. The blue cap guy spun around, attacking with a knife, shouting that he was a little punk who dared to play them. Chen evaded the attack easily and said, big bro, they were all dead now. Didn't that mean the food was all theirs by now? And he thought, stop yelling. Cap guy told him to shut the hell up, and not to think he was falling for his bullshit again. Chen showed him his power, conjuring food right out of thin air, and said he had awakened a power. He could make food appear anytime. The blue cap guy started to say, you son of a, but Chen jumped toward him and killed him by covering his face with the conjured food, suffocated by bread. There was irony in there somewhere. Hao thought, again? Then Hao shouted. What was he mumbling about? Chen told her to stop yelling. If she didn't want to scream, she should do it at night. Hao's rage level increased by 15, converted to 1500 credit. Current limit 109,600. Chen saw the shop and thought, right now he'd only got food and daily necessities stuff he bought for the girl. Probably not shareable, right? The system popped up and said that if the host chose to share, half the item's value would be deducted from his credit. Fair enough. Yao asked Chen what they should do now. They were from the neighborhood committee. Wasn't he afraid he'd end up back in prison for this? Chen replied that it was the apocalypse now. Who had the time to care about that kind of stuff? They'd bury them in the community garden. And if she didn't talk and he didn't talk, who was gonna know? Simple math. Then Yili appeared in the doorway, flanked by a couple of guys, and said that they would. After Yili and Lin came bursting in with their little entourage, Chen looked at the bodies already on the floor and then at the new arrivals. He said that if they all died, no one would know, right? Just a simple question. Yi Li called Chen crazy and asked if he wasn't afraid they'd call the cops. Yi Li's rage level increased by 23. Chen asked if this wasn't what they wanted. Why go around in circles? And without any warning, he kicked Lin right in his nuts. Clean shot. Lin folded like laundry. Yi Li shrieked for young Master Lin and then spun toward Chen, demanding what he meant by them wanting it. This was what he should be giving. They were all neighbors and should help each other out. He couldn't eat all that food by himself. Was he just going to watch them die? The self-righteousness was staggering. Chen pointed toward the bodies on the floor and then at them, and said that the lady was right. He just wanted to watch them all die. No sugarcoating. Yi Li stammered that Chen had a bit of food, but if it weren't for the apocalypse, who'd even care about it? Yi Li's rage level increased by 110. She told him if he didn't care, then get out, and not to pretend to be righteous. Yi Li's rage level increased by 36. The points were trickling in nicely. Chen said that right now he had more supplies than she thought, and asked if she could just take it without giving anything back. Where was her dignity? Yi Li's rage level increased by 89. Chen pressed further, saying if she wanted something, then beg for it, and not to act like she had 9 lives. Yi Li's rage level increased by 216. Lin, still cupping himself, shouted enough with the bullshit and ordered their lackeys to attack. Hao told them to get out of the way. Chen said it was one thing to deal with the disrespect from those bastards on a normal day, but now it was the apocalypse. Different rules. Chen moved fast, pacing through the lackeys like they were standing still, and slit both of their throats in an instant. 2 bodies hit the floor before anyone could blink. Yi Li asked if he thought she was just going to let him bully her. Chen came near, his voice cold, and told her it was her time. Trash. No mercy. Lin, desperate and raging, grabbed a vase from a nearby table and charged at Chen, screaming dumbass, telling him to go die. Chen sidestepped and killed him by piercing his chest with the knife, the blade going deep. He leaned in close as Lin's eyes went dim and said rest in peace. He would make sure to teach his sister properly for him. Cold as ice. As Yi Li saw Lin's body crumple to the ground, her entire demeanor shattered. She dropped to her knees, crawling near Chen's leg, her voice switching to honey. She begged that she was wrong before. Actually, she just wanted to test him, but now that he had passed the test, what mattered most was they get through this together. The audacity, the sheer, shameless audacity. Chen looked down at her and told her to get lost. 2 words. Yi Li, scrambling backward toward the door on her hands and knees, kept babbling that she was leaving. In their room, after Yi Li had scrambled out like a frightened rat, Hao turned to Chen and asked if he let her go just like that, saying it seemed like there were still some lingering feelings. The jealousy was barely disguised. Chen told her not to be jealous. She wasn't worth it. Smooth. Hao asked what about these people, gesturing at the bodies, and if they were really burying them in the community garden. Chen said no need, just toss them out the window. Throwing them out would also serve as a warning. Let's see who dares to come looking for trouble again. Our boy was thinking like a mob boss now. Down below the apartment, it was Beiwei and her little group huddled together in the cold. A buzzcut guy asked Beiwei, calling her sister Wei, if with the cold wave tonight, they wouldn't be short on supplies. Beiwei said if they were short, they would just go get more. Her brother would cover them if anything happened. She said it with such confidence, like her brother was some kind of apocalypse insurance policy. Then a shout came from above. Dead bodies came raining down, thudding onto the pavement like sacks of meat. As they saw the dead bodies hit the ground, Beiwei's eyes went wide, and when she recognized the faces, she got really scared and screamed loudly. Blood-curdling stuff. The guy with her stammered, Sister Wei, that looks like young Master Lin. They're dead. Dead as doornails. Beiwei's eyes rolled back and she fainted right there, collapsing into the guy's arms. They shouted, Sister Wei, shaking her like she was a rag doll. Back upstairs, Hao said they had tossed the bodies out. The cold wave was coming soon. What should they do now? Chen, who was at the stove cooking like nothing had happened, said don't rush. Let's have something hot first. Then he would go down and check it out. The man's priorities were unshakable. Chen muttered to the system to settle up. The system popped up and said this time, current credit 160,600, reaching 200,000 unlocks new categories in the mall. Getting close now. Chen took the steaming food and handed it to her, telling her, come, try his cooking. Proud chef moment. Hao thought that she didn't expect that even in the apocalypse, someone would treat her this well. It felt like the warmth of home. Actual warmth. Hao asked Chen if he wasn't going to eat. Chen said he wasn't hungry, she should eat. Chen thought now's not the time to eat. The cold wave's coming soon. They needed to prepare in advance. Always thinking ahead. The system popped up again. Hao favorability plus 40. Current favorability 100. Hao was completely devoted to him. Strategy successful. Host gains 113,200 private credit, and all supplies Hao consumed. Current credit 273,800. New mall categories unlocked. Chen thought nice, clean and efficient. Just then, the guys carrying the unconscious Beiwei stumbled right into Chen's path. They were trying to wake up Beiwei, patting her cheeks, saying, Sister Wei, wake up. The guys looked up and saw Chen standing there. Their faces went pale. One of them muttered it was him again. The blue-haired guy was standing there with Beiwei like he had something important to say, calling out to Chen. Chen turned, squinted, asked if he was calling him. The guy snorted. Duh, who else would he be calling? His mom? That was the wrong thing to say. Chen slapped him across the face before the fool could even blink, told him not to call his mom, asked if he really thought he was worthy, and to stop chickening out and just finish this already. Honestly, Chen had spent 100,000 credits to double every single one of his physical stats, so dealing with trash like this blue-haired idiot should have been a breeze. And he had important things to do, things that didn't involve wasting time on clowns. The other guy, the buzz-cut one with Beiwei, his brain was spinning trying to figure out how this kid suddenly got so damn strong. In the end, he just knelt down, hands shaking, asking for forgiveness, saying big bro, they'd been blind before, didn't recognize the mountain, and with the apocalypse here and no supplies they were all gonna die if they didn't do something. They had no choice. No real choice. He begged Chen not to hit him now since he'd already hit his brother hard enough. Man, these guys folded fast. Chen looked down at the blue-haired dude still on the ground and asked what about him. Was he still planning on calling his mom? The blue-haired guy shook his head so hard it nearly fell off, saying no, big bro, he wouldn't do it again. Not ever. And if Chen needed anything at all, just say the word. And Chen thought, yeah, they'd say the word now. Both of them kneeling there like puppies waiting for a command. He asked if they knew why the water and power in the whole building were cut off. The buzz-cut guy confessed immediately. Yeah, they knew. They'd been the ones who turned off the water and electricity for the entire building, then went door to door stealing supplies like a couple of rats. No hesitation, just spilled everything. Chen told them, before they went anywhere, go turn the water and electricity back on, and bring Beiwei up here. As long as they all behaved, he'd make sure their lives were saved from the coming cold wave. Both guys thanked him like he'd just handed them salvation. After that, inside the home, Beiwei woke up, her nose twitching, saying it smelled so good, asking where they were. Blue hair lit up, said Sister Beiwei. You're awake? She zeroed in on the beef noodles, asking where the hell they got beef noodles from. He said Big Bro gave them to them. Chen was just sitting there, greeted her calm as anything. She saw him, said Chen, it's you. Then she turned on her lackeys, asking if they really called him Big Bro just for a bowl of noodles. No backbone at all. Blue hair shrugged, said what could they do, Sister Beiwei? And she should have some too, it was good. Chen added, yeah, how much can backbone really get them? A few bowls of noodles maybe. Beiwei shot back, told him don't think just because he was nice to her, she'd let her brother hand over Yili to him. That's where it stood. At Chen's home, the noodles were still sitting there steaming while he was talking to Beiwei, telling her he wasn't eating. Just forget it. Beiwei stared at him like he'd just said something completely insane, saying it was just a bowl of noodles. Who even cared? That's when a system notification popped up out of nowhere. Beiwei's rage level, plus 336. And Chen, all he could think was thanks to his #1 supporter for sending him 33,600 credits. Man, that was a good haul. Beiwei got up so fast the whole table shook, knocking the bowl right out of her lackey's hands, and they both cried out in alarm like someone had set the building on fire. She spun toward Chen, finger pointed, telling him to listen up and listen good. He better make her a bowl of noodles right this second. Bring it over and kneel while feeding her, otherwise she'd have her brother smash every tooth in his head. Chen just placed the noodles back on the table, calm as anything, caught her hand mid-rant, opened the door, pushed her right out into the hallway, and told her to get lost, calling her an idiot before the door clicked shut. Hao asked, watching all this go down, if he really was going to lock a little girl outside in the freezing cold, saying it wasn't too good, it really wasn't. Chen sat back in his chair, asked what he was worried about. Her cramps? And he thought to himself, damn those cramps, what a joke. Meanwhile, Beiwei sat outside his room fuming, thinking damn that bastard Chen. Not only did he refuse to feed her noodles, he actually left her in the hallway like she was nothing. And then she noticed it, the cold creeping in, and she wondered if it was already snowing, if the cold wave had already arrived without anyone noticing. She started banging on the door, saying if Chen opened up right now, she could still have her brother spare his miserable life. Otherwise, she guaranteed he wouldn't see the sun tomorrow. From inside, Chen's voice came through flat and cold, saying her brother's body was already cold by now. Her face went grave, then graver still, the memory of bodies falling flashing behind her eyes, and she screamed, banged harder, saying he was lying. Her brother was perfectly fine. Chen told her if she didn't believe him, go look downstairs herself. She kept shouting he was lying, he was just jealous of her brother. That was all this was. Then Yili appeared from the opposite door, asking Beiwei why she was standing out in the hallway, telling her to come inside. Hao watched through the crack in the door, saying Yili had opened up and she wasn't a good person at all. She might try to turn Beiwei against them. Chen thought about it. The other guy, the buzz-cut one, chimed in saying, yeah, big bro, actually Sister Beiwei was pitiful when you thought about it. Why not just help her out? Outside the room, Beiwei was crying now, hugging Yili like she was the only thing left in the world. Shen from inside said, "All right," and got up. Shen yanked the door open from his room, and what do you know? Both of them were lying right there outside like a pair of frozen cats. Beiwei, still on the ground, said she was glad Yili knew when to soften up. Just as the words left her mouth, Yili lunged forward and grabbed a fistful of Chen's dress, begging him, "Please don't. She was so cold, so hungry, it was all her fault in the past. Please, please take her in." Shen just looked down and asked, "Don't what?" Beiwei's brain short-circuited. She was shocked, properly shocked, and told Yili not to kneel to that kind of person. It was just a few bowls of noodles. They didn't care about that. It wasn't worth this. The system flickered. Rage level, 128. Yili didn't even hesitate. She flicked Beiwei's hands off like they were insects. Beiwei just stared, mouth open, and Yili, still clutching Chen's dress, said again it was all her fault in the past, begged him to forgive her, promised that from now on she would be his loyal dog and do whatever he asked. Chen told her sorry, he found that dirty. Man, the air froze worse than the hallway. Beiwei turned to Yili, voice shaky, saying she really didn't have to do this. They could find food supplies too. They didn't need him. Before she could even finish, Yili snapped, angrily asking how exactly were they supposed to find supplies. It was already -1 degrees. And was Beiwei trying to kill her? Was that it? She kept going, her voice cracking, saying it was because of Beiwei's brother that she missed out on Chen Yu, that his death was well-deserved, and if it weren't for his money she would never have given up on Chen in the first place. Beiwei's mind went blank. What did Yili just say? Yili shouted it right back. She said Beiwei and her brother were both trash, both scum to society, and both deserved to die. The system lit up. Beiwei's rage, 223. Yili's rage, 268. And Chen, leaning against the doorframe, thought to himself that this dog-eat-dog drama was really something to watch. Better than any show. He held up 2 fingers and laid down the law. First, pointing at Yili, told her to stay far away and stop being an eyesore. Yili's face crumpled. She called him heartless. Then he pointed at Beiwei, said he killed her brother, asked why she still couldn't figure it out for herself, and told her if she submitted now, they'd be square. She could consider him her brother. If not, then she could die with Yili, far away where he didn't have to see them. Beiwei's rage spiked again, a clean 171 plus a savage 578, and she spat that he was a filthy lapdog and she would kill him before that. Chen shut the door right in her face, and from inside the room her rage popped up another 121 plus 226. He shook his head. This girl really was something. Her temper was a whole natural disaster. The system chimed one last time. This session, total 22072 rage points gained, exchanged for 227,200 credits. Current credit balance 400,800. Not a bad haul for a freezing hallway showdown. Our boy Chen saw the notification pop up and his eyes nearly popped out. 400,000. He blurted out, "Damn, 400K. I'm already turning a profit. Fallen girls are the best." And then he laughed maniacally, like a villain who just won the lottery. Yo, why's the boss laughing so creepily? He's giving off scary vibes. Did he just turn evil or something? Hao just shrugged, already used to Chen's sudden bursts of madness. Chen handed out cans of beer, big grin plastered on his face. "Tonight we drink till we drop," he announced. Right as he said that, the lights flickered and then bam, total blackout. Everyone froze. Hao muttered, "Weird, why'd the power go out again? Could it be those neighborhood committee people messing around again?" The buzzcut guy shivered. "We're doomed. Without heating, the temperature's gonna drop like a rock, and none of us brought warm clothes." The other guys were already panicking, saying they were dead for sure now. Chen shook his head. "Nah, I don't think it's the committee. It's probably the temperature dropping so low it's messing with the circuits." Hao asked what they were gonna do then. Chen told them not to panic. Even without electricity, they still had the gas. Heat something hot and it'd help keep them warm. He then turned to Hao and asked if she had any warm clothes. Hao looked at him like he just asked the dumbest question. "No, I only buy in-season clothes and throw out-of-season stuff away. I haven't even bought any blankets yet." "What are we gonna do?" Chen thought, asking the system how much more until the next product category unlocked on the shop. The system informed him the next unlocked tier for the Vengeance shop was 500,000 credits. Chen muttered, "She's a damn stupid woman, always failing at the worst time." Her rage points increased by 265. Man, Chen was milking that rage like a pro. Hao then fired back. "Chen, did you seriously buy winter coats and blankets during summer?" Chen grinned. "Damn right I did. Buying them in summer doesn't bark just because you're being stupid." Hao's eyes widened, her face flushed. "You're brain damaged or something." Her rage points increased by 399. The buzzcut guy leaned over. "What's going on between the boss and Haoji?" The other guy shrugged. "How would I know? Maybe the coal got to their heads." Hao shot them a death glare. "You three are the ones with cold brains. All of you have frozen your brains solid." Her rage points increased by 523. Seriously, this girl was a walking rage factory. Now Chen thought, telling the system to settle the points. The system notified him. Total rage points this round were 1187. Converted to personal credits 1118,700. Current balance 519,500. And a new shop category had unlocked. Chen's grin grew wider. Time to test my luck. While Chen was trying out the new shop he had unlocked, Hao shot him a glare. Don't think just because you have supplies you can trample all over me. Her rage points hit 327. Rage points were gained and converted to personal credits. Chen thought and laughed. Truly the peak of fortune. A buzzcut guy suddenly shouted, "The power's back! The power's back!" The other guy clasped his hands together. Thank God we're saved from the cold front. Hao tilted her head. Was it? It was weird how it came back so fast. Just a power outage. Hao blushed at Chen. Chen thought that good things and his luck had exploded. He had spent 100k credits and secured half a year of utilities in one go. Now it was time to cash in. Chen went to his corridor and started hollering like a madman. He shouted that his wife had cheated, his mother-in-law abused all his patients, and only fueled their cruelty. There was no more tolerance. He told them to come to Unit A701 to hear his revenge plan. The people outside kept chattering, asking how many trashy dog blood dramas this guy had binged. Damn cringe. Some purple-haired woman muttered. Was he still pulling this crap in the apocalypse, Unit 701? Did he think he was funny? They were freezing to death. At least let them die in peace. As the rage level increased by 127, then 255, then 366, then 118, Chen thought that this was the thrill of overnight wealth. Come on, bring on more rage. He thought very happily. Man, our boy was practically bathing in those sweet rage credits. The buzzcut guy thought that the boss's mental state was something else. Was he sure he hadn't actually frozen his brain? But then again, what did he know? The boss clearly wasn't ordinary. His constitution was off the charts. A little wind wouldn't do a thing. As he was thinking that, Chen sneezed. The system popped up. Rage points this round, 83367, converted to credits 8336700. As Chen was so bright and happy, Hao wondered if Chen was okay. The buzzcut guy asked what kind of brain-dead question that was. Let him try. He asked the boss. There were 20 heads and 46 legs in a cage of chickens and rabbits. How many of each were there? Chen laughed very happily and said who cared how many. He said how many, that's how many there were. Then the banging started. Some people were hammering at the door, shouting for Unit 701 to get out, open up, hurry and open the door. If they didn't, they would smash their way in. The blue-haired guy thought, what were they to do? There were only 4 of them. They couldn't take them all. The buzzcut guy said he couldn't believe this was how it ended. Chen thought, why panic? He was well versed in all kinds of skills. PUA, CPU, KTV, PPT. Our boy was fully loaded with life hacks. The blue-haired guy was confused and didn't understand what those were. The buzzcut guy explained, manipulation, brainwashing, betrayal, and selling dreams. Chen gave him a nod of approval. Finally, someone who spoke his language. A golden-haired lady with 2 guys kept pounding on the door. They shouted, Unit 701, really? He was acting all tough earlier? What, too scared to open the door now? If he doesn't come out, we'll smash his power box. Chen squinted through the door hole and recognized her. It was Sun Shen'er, the infamous internet celeb. Chen swung the door open. He'd been sick of that power box for ages. Big hammer was 80, small hammer was 40. Break it to their heart's content. The guy with him told Chen to cut the crap. Did he think they wouldn't actually smash it? Scener asked if Chen was brain damaged or something. Chen pushed the guy forward, telling him to smash it. Anyone who didn't was a coward. The guy got red-faced, embarrassment turning to anger. He grabbed the hammer and smashed the power box to pieces. Scener smirked at Chen, told him to see that, loser. That was what happened when he messed with them. The guy puffed his chest out and told Chen to get on his knees and call him grandpa. As long as he had a bite to eat, Chen would always have a bowl to wash, and he laughed right in Chen's face. Chen thought and waited. Then he used the system's help and snapped his fingers. Our boy had a plan, and these fools had just walked right into it. The guy smashed the power box to pieces, then stood there waiting for Chen to break down. But then he saw it. The damn thing just recovered, right before his eyes. He staggered back, shouting, "It recovered! Am I seeing things?" It was clearly smashed. Everyone saw it. The people gathered around were stunned, couldn't believe their eyes. Chen, our boy, just leaned against the doorframe, with the haughtiest expression imaginable. Young man must not have eaten today. Can't even smash a power distribution box. Pathetic. The guy's face twisted with fury. He grabbed the hammer and kept wailing on the power box, over and over, smashing it as many times as he could. He pounded it until it was utterly wrecked, then panted, "Let's see how arrogant you can be now." But within a single second, it recovered again, good as new. Chen looked over at Scener and shook his head. Your taste in men is seriously lacking. This guy's so weak he can't even blow up a power box. Scener's rage level increased by 388. The guy with her, completely humiliated, spun around and shouted, "If I can't destroy the power box, I'll destroy you first." He lunged at Chen with the hammer. Chen evaded to the left, tripped his leg and kicked him square in the nuts. Scener was shocked. Chen smirked down at the crumpled mess. So weak. From now on, we'll call you the Prince of Emptiness." The guy just sat there in agony, scared out of his mind. Scener sneered. "So what if you have electricity? Once the food runs out, you'll still have to go out and buy more." The guy in pain, still clutching himself, spat. "Bastard. Don't run if you have the guts." Chen just waved a dismissive hand, a cheeky grin spreading across his face. "Oh my god, such a serious problem, and you guys actually left it?" Scener puffed up her chest. "I'm a top influencer with millions of followers. If you kneel and beg me now, maybe I'll reward you with some leftovers." Chen feigned wide-eyed awe. "No wonder you're awake. Big-time influencer. Life's really good when you've got followers." And then, he started conjuring food right out of thin air. "This calls for a celebration. What should we go with? Garlic crayfish? BBQ skewers? The Wallace gut-cleansing combo sounds pretty good too." They saw this and thought, "Damn, our boy Chen was truly living in a different world." When Chen casually conjured food out of thin air, the golden-haired celeb Shanir's eyes nearly popped out of her skull. She stammered, asking him how it had turned into food and if there were superpowered people in this world. Her rage level increased by 523 and she straight up shrieked that even she, a top influencer with millions of followers, didn't have the right to powers like that. So why should a damn loser like him? Man, these influencers really thought the world revolved around them. Then the guy in the back shouted to smash everything. Our boy Chen shouted right back and conjured a bowl of rotten egg straight into the lackey's hands, then told them to do it. The buzzcut guy and the blue-haired guy started hurling those eggs like grenades, crying out that it was rotten egg. It stank. They were going to puke, and the attackers retreated gagging. Chen shouted again. "I said smash." He was having way too much fun with this. Scener was absolutely fuming, her perfect makeup probably melting from the stench. She screamed how dare he do that to her, did he know how expensive her face was? And he was done for. Her rage level increased by 666. Nice number. The old guy with her stepped forward, trying to act all sage and menacing, telling Chen that kid, he should know when to stop. Chen grabbed a whole bucket full of raw eggs and rotten eggs and dumped it right on the old guy's head, telling him he would send him to the grave, "You old bastard." The old guy went down like a sack of potatoes, slipping on the egg slime. The blue-haired guy shouted for everyone to hurry and get in, and they slammed the door shut and locked it. Outside, Shanir was going nuclear. She screamed to crush him and announced that whoever took down that damn loser tonight would get to spend the night with her. Her rage level increased by 1368. Desperate times, desperate measures, right? Inside, Hao asked what they should do, panicking because they were about to break in. Chen told her not to worry. That door even Godzilla couldn't break through. He'd made sure of that. Time to open a new category. System, cash out. The system announced that rage accumulated was 3,033, converted into personal credit of 3,033,000, current balance 1,620,000. New store categories unlocked. Chen's grin spread ear to ear. He thought the clothing category was unlocked. Just in time too. As rain started pelting against the windows, Hao looked out and said acid rain was coming. Chen stretched his arms, cracked his neck, and said it was the perfect time he would go take a walk. The blue-haired guy's eyes lit up. Walking in the acid rain was intense, and asked to count him in. Chen was proud, clapping him on the shoulder. The young man had potential. He tossed him a jacket and told him to put on the down jacket and come explore with him. The blue-haired guy leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper, asking if they were heading out on some secret mission and not to tell him that he was the leader of some badass underground organization. Chen told him to stop reading so many power fantasy novels and let's go. The guy snapped to attention. "Yes, boss." As Chen swung the door open, the three stooges were still waiting outside, shivering and drenched. Chen asked if they were still hanging around. He casually moved her aside, telling her to get lost and not block the way. She sputtered in disbelief, saying that he actually dared to hit her on the head, a top influencer with millions of followers. How dare he? Her rage level increased, and her boy suddenly switched sides faster than a flipped pancake. He came slithering toward Chen, hands up all innocent, and said that it was all that woman's idea to stir up trouble, that he was just misled by her, and told Chen not to take it to heart. He swore that as long as Chen was willing to feed him, he would do whatever Chen said from now on. Our boy just watched this pathetic display with a blank face. Scener shrieked that Xiao Tian was a bastard. Tian shot her a pathetic look and told her to get lost, called her an idiot, and told her not to ruin the bond between him and his superpowered bro. Man, this guy's loyalty had a shorter shelf life than milk. Scener stammered "you," and then whipped her head toward Chen, her eyes blazing. She told him that he had completely pissed her off, that he had better invite her in right now and serve her good food and drink. She asked if that wasn't what basic weak men did to get her favor, told him this was his chance, and warned him not to be ungrateful. Smack. Chen's palm connected with her face. He asked if she had called him a basic man. Senior was so angry, her cheek already turning red, and she screamed that she was a top influencer with millions of fans and dared him to try hitting her again. Her rage increased by 573. Chen didn't hesitate. Smack! Another slap landed. He told her to bring it on. She was absolutely infuriated, shouting that he couldn't hit her, that everyone else tried to please her, and asked why he was the exception. Her rage increased by 899. She was practically foaming at the mouth now. She then said that he must be playing hard to get, and that he was trying to get her attention with reverse psychology. The delusion was honestly impressive. Chen called her a moron and turned to walk away. Just a straight-up moron. From behind, Tian called out that he was seriously pledging loyalty there, like a lost puppy. The blue-haired guy didn't even let him finish, planting a boot right in his face and telling him to get out of his face. Clean hit. Chen said no more talk. They were leaving. As they stepped out, Chen spotted Beiwei outside. The blue-haired guy's expression crumbled when he saw her, and he asked Sister Wei if she was okay. Beiwei looked up at him, her eyes all pitiful and desperate, pleading for him to save her. The system noted her favorability was 0. A big fat goose egg. Chen thought that she was pretending to surrender to survive, and that she really knew how to bend and stretch. Smart girl, but not smart enough. Chen, pulling up his hoodie against the acid drizzle, told them to take the prisoners upstairs and hand them over to Hao, and said that he would go check outside. As he walked out and surveyed the area, he thought that the plants and cars had all been corroded, warped into twisted shapes by the rain. He wondered how the delivery station was doing. He still had a package to pick up. Priorities, right? Under a half-melted building, a purple-haired woman called out to him. Her clothes were torn, leaving her half-naked and shivering. Chen looked and immediately thought that something was up. This had trap written all over it. The woman beckoned him, telling him to come there. Chen blushed but kept his cool. He thought that it was such a poor setup for a honey trap, and that he was not falling for it. Not today. Still, he sauntered up to her like he owned the place, and handsomely asked what kind of trouble she was in, and told her to tell him about it. Play along first, see what cards she had. The woman moved fast, pressing a cold knife right against Chen's throat. She told him to take off his clothes. Straight to the point. No small talk. Our boy just sighed internally. Rookie move. With a knife to Chen's neck, the man asked the purple-haired woman. Even for a honey trap, there was no reason to be harsh, right? The purple-haired woman said, just take it off. No need to talk. Her rage increased plus 103. Chen asked if he gave her the clothes. How was he supposed to get back? She replied she didn't care how he got back. He had delayed her business, and no amount of lives would be enough to pay for it. Chen said, sister, you're so amazing. She demanded he do as she said, or death. Her rage increased plus 116. Chen said don't be so fierce. If she was in trouble, just tell him. He'd fix it for her. And he removed the jacket. That woman took the jacket from his hand and said who did he think he was? If this wasn't useful, he wouldn't even be worthy of talking to her. Her rage increased plus 181. Chen grinned and thought, ha, not worthy? The jacket in her hand vanished and reappeared on Chen, and he said when she learned how to properly beg, come talk to him. The woman was surprised and said the clothes, they disappeared out of nowhere. As Chen went into the rain, she shouted and came at him with a knife, saying, humph, trying to negotiate with me? You're not qualified. Her rage increased plus 133. Chen evaded the knife, caught her hand, tossed the knife, and pinned her to the wall, saying now she was the one who wasn't qualified. The woman said so what if he was skilled? With the apocalypse here, bottom-dwelling ants like him were just worthless lives. Without resources, they were just numbers. Chen left her and said it was just resources, he could get as many as he wanted. The woman said how pathetic. He couldn't even get a proper meal, yet he still had to preserve his sad little pride. Fine, he wouldn't give her the clothes, but go run an errand for her to the city hospital, and after he was done, she would reward him with 2 bundles of noodles. Chen, frustrated, asked 2 bundles of noodles? The woman said don't thank her. She knew 2 bundles of noodles would be enough to make him feel so grateful. Ants were just ants, a small favor, and they would grovel, wag their tail, and beg. That was the difference between him and her. Chen slapped her into the rain and said, the difference of 2 bundles of noodles, huh? The woman said she actually got hit by this bottom-tier person. She shouted for him to listen to her. Her rage increased plus 336. Chen said he wasn't listening, as she felt pain and irritation all over her body. She then called out his name, Chen. As Chen was walking away through the acid rain, the purple-haired woman screamed after him that she would never forgive him. Our boy didn't even turn around, just called back over his shoulder, telling her to remember that he was in Unit A Apartment 701, and if she was coming that night, not to knock on the wrong door. She was left there, frustrated and soaked, thinking damn it, just wait till she got her supplies, she would make him pay. Some people just couldn't let go. Chen grabbed his parcel and strolled back into the apartment like nothing had happened. The moment he stepped inside, there was Siner already there, and as soon as she saw him, she crawled right up to his leg like a desperate cat. She started cooing that big bro. She knew she was wrong. Please take her in, and as long as he let her stay, she would do anything for him. Chen looked down at her and said it was no wonder she was a top influencer, two-faced as hell. Then the blue-haired guy popped up out of nowhere, grinning, and said that, "Boss, this chick caught on fast." The moment she realized he had unlimited supplies, she switched faces instantly. The buzzcut guy, also appearing like a magic trick, asked if she wasn't his type, could he have her? Chen thought, where the hell did you guys pop out from? Seriously, they were like meerkats. Siner kept going, pouring it on thick, saying that she was ignorant before, but from now on she was his and his alone. She wouldn't livestream anymore, and if he liked, she could dance for him every day, and at night she could. Chen cut her off. He told her to remember what she just said, and never act shameless in front of him again. No one was above anyone else. Got it. Siner nodded like a bobblehead, saying that she understood. She would listen to him. And as they both went inside, Chen told her to go wash herself first because he didn't want his floors getting dirty. Priorities. Just then the system popped up, doing its thing. It announced that rage points earned were 44207, converted to personal credit 44200. Siner's current favorability was 30, and once successfully won over, all money and resources spent on her would be refunded 100 times to the host's personal storage. Chen thought that money was just a number to him now. Seriously, what was he even going to do with all that? The system then reminded him the next category, superpower fruits, unlocked at 3 million credits, just a few more world-shattering abilities, and being invincible was so lonely. Our boy chuckled to himself, lonely at the top indeed. As Chen was inspecting the package he'd risked acid rain for, Hao came over and said that he braved the acid rain just to pick up a package. Chen asked, what, should he have picked up something else instead? Hao suddenly got all flustered and embarrassed and blurted out, who said she wanted to marry him? Chen was completely confused, looked at the box and pulled out a teddy bear. The blue-haired guy materialized again, eyes wide, and said that, boss, he never thought he had such a romantic side. Chen told him to shut up and go to sleep. The buzzcut guy saluted and said, all right, boss. He and the blue-haired guy would go crash now. They left the room, master bedroom, to him too, and they disappeared into the hallway. Finally, some peace. Just as quiet settled, a loud bang echoed through the building. Chen thought, what the hell, what was going on? An earthquake? Another crash? Someone outside was shouting, Chen, get your ass out here, you dare to do that to me tonight. I'm taking your damn life. Everybody in the apartment turned to look at him with those knowing, judgmental stares. Chen looked around, baffled, and asked why they were all looking at him like that. He didn't do anything. Ha smirked and said it was okay, they understood. Chen shouted, understand what exactly, brat? In the middle of the night, go to sleep. This is not a kid's conversation. Beiwei, from somewhere in the background, added, ah, so it was an R-rated situation. Chen rubbed his temples, already exhausted. He thought, looks like tonight was going to be a sleepless night, and the acid rain hadn't even let up. Just great. As someone was trying to break the door down with what sounded like a battering ram, Chen just leaned back and said that if she managed to break in tonight, he would give up his spot as boss of this 3,000 square meter base to her. Our boy was confident. That door was his pride and joy. The buzzcut guy cheered him on, saying that he had told them his big bro wasn't ordinary. Then both he and the blue-haired guy suddenly went quiet, their eyes glazing over with that dumb, infatuated look. Really huge, too. The blue-haired guy nodded like an idiot, saying top tier, absolutely top tier. Beiwei came up behind them and smacked both their heads together, telling them to shut up. 2 coconuts cracking. Finally, someone with sense. Chen thought that when you were out in the world, your image was what you made it. Ha asked, annoyed, if they were just going to let her keep making a scene, it was so late, and what if they disturbed the neighbors? Priorities in the apocalypse, right? Worrying about noise complaints? Chen stood up and stretched. He said that back when Notre Dame wanted to kick Ha out, he was the only one who stood up for her. Random flex, but okay. Ha got angry. Her rage increased by 115. She pointed at him, face all puffed up and red, and shouted, you! She couldn't even finish the sentence. Chen swung the door open like it was nothing and found himself staring down the barrel of a gun. The purple-haired woman was standing there, clothes still torn from earlier, shivering but determined. Chen casually said that he was not pointing a gun at her, so she should not point one at him either. Fair trade, right? The purple-haired woman called him a pervert and said she would blow her head off. Her rage increased by 233. Chen leaned against the doorframe, cool as ever, and said she had 2 options. 1, keep trying to kill him. 2, team up with him and make her dreams come true. The purple-haired woman asked Chen who he thought he was, bragging in front of her, and if he was tired of living. Her rage increased by 426. The numbers just kept climbing. Chen said yeah, she was tough, walking out without her brain again. He told her to go ahead and fire. Then he struck a ridiculous pose and said he was just pretending to be a firecracker spirit there to wish everyone an early happy new year, and closed the door right in her face. Our boy had zero fear and maximum sass. Outside, the woman stood there, completely baffled. She thought that her divine might was a siege-level weapon, and how could it not blow open a single door? She wondered if this guy really had some serious power behind all that nonsense. She gritted her teeth and shouted that she would let him go for now, but if he dared mess with her, she would make sure his death was miserable. Empty threats were the best kind. Chen opened the door again. This time he was standing there all handsome, posing like a recruitment poster, and said that he, Chen, always kept his word, and following him would be the best decision she ever made. Before he could finish his sales pitch, she stepped forward and punched him square in the face, walked right past him into the apartment, and told him to shut up. Hao, ever the peacemaker, told her that Chen was just like that, not to take it to heart, and offered her a bowl of beef noodles to warm up. The purple-haired woman's brain short-circuited at the word beef. She thought about beef. Real, actual beef. She thought they actually had beef with the apocalypse happening and resources completely monopolized, and that only people like Jiang Cheng's elites could eat this well. She wondered just who this Chen really was. A fool? A genius? Both? Sinair suddenly popped up and said she was hungry too and wanted to eat, sliding toward Chen with those big pleading eyes. Chen was flustered, waving his spatula, and asked if she was about to lay an egg since she kept calling him big bro, and told her to hang tight, he would whip up something for her. Sinair threw her arms around him, hugging him tight, and cooed that she knew he loved her the most. Our boy just sighed. This was his life now. Ha, ever the polite one, turned to the purple-haired woman and asked if she was rushing to the city hospital because she felt unwell. While the purple-haired woman kept shoveling food into her mouth, she suddenly froze mid-bite, her eyes going wide. She said there was no time to explain. She had to get that before dawn. Whatever that was, it sounded urgent. Chen was at the stove, fully in his element, and as he cooked, he announced to no one in particular that he would add another sprinkle of soul scallions, the chef god's secret recipe, delicious and healthy. He was basically doing a cooking show now. The apocalypse had really gotten to him. The purple-haired woman had zero patience for his culinary theatrics. She marched over, grabbed Chen by the ear, and yanked him toward the door, saying there was no time left. He had to come with her now. Chen yelped, then turned back to his crew, telling them he was counting on them to hold things down there, and he would be back soon. Ha told him to be careful. Beiwei, sitting comfortably on the chair like a queen on her throne, waved lazily and said not to worry. Bad weeds live long. He was tough as nails. Was that a compliment or an insult? Chen didn't have time to figure it out. They rushed outside into the still drizzling acid rain trying to find a vehicle. Chen led her straight to an electric scooter charging station, like it was his prized stallion waiting in the stable. The purple-haired woman stared at the rusted, half-melted scooter and asked if that piece of junk still ran. Chen asked why not. It was his ride. It handled any road like a boss, and he started boasting about his vehicle like he was selling her a luxury sedan. The purple-haired woman's eye twitched. The battery was half dead. How the hell would it move? And was he messing with her? Her rage increased by plus 336. The frustration was practically radiating off her. Chen thought proudly to himself that he had over 2 million in assets now. Replacing a battery for a scooter was a piece of cake. He didn't say it out loud, just smirked. Then he turned to her, all dramatic, and asked his friend if she believed in light, like he was about to reveal some profound truth. The purple-haired woman was so infuriated at him making fun in that situation that she cocked back her fist and punched him right in the face, telling him to believe in his damn mother. Her rage increased by 422. 2 punches in one night. Chen was collecting them like Pokemon. Chen stumbled back, clutching his face, and called her a crazy woman, saying that punch actually hurt. The purple-haired woman stood there, chest heaving, and thought to herself, then shouted that she must be out of her mind to actually trust a street thug like him. She turned on her heel and started walking away, completely done. Just then a soft hum filled the air. Chen rolled up beside her on the now fully charged scooter, the headlight cutting through the rain. He patted the seat behind him and said, "Babe, hop on." The purple-haired woman froze, shocked. The damn thing actually worked. The purple-haired girl tightened her arms around Chen from behind and asked in confusion why his electric scooter wasn't being corroded by the acid rain. Chen immediately roasted her, asking if she was blind. His down jacket could block acid rain, so why was it such a miracle that his scooter could too? She instantly snapped back, shouting, "How was I supposed to know?" Chen just grinned and told her to hold on tight, because today he was taking her on the best joyride the apocalypse had to offer. Hearing that, she couldn't help being impressed. This guy just kept pulling new tricks out of nowhere. Even in the middle of doomsday, he still showed up to save her, making her remember her father's words about someday meeting a true savior. Right then, the system popped up. Zhou Kang's affection increased by 10. Chen smiled. His balance had already climbed past 2.2 million, making today's spending spree look even sweeter. Then he asked Zhou to hand him the gun, because he was going to upgrade it. She froze for a second, staring at him in disbelief. Wait, he could upgrade weapons too? Chen casually upgraded the gun without a second thought, After all, every coin he spent on her would come back 100-fold thanks to the system. That's basically legal money duplication with extra steps. Soon they arrived at their destination, but a guard stepped in front of them and blocked the entrance. Jo calmly introduced herself, like this was her usual routine, expecting to be let through, but the guard wasn't having it. He coldly replied that he didn't care who she was. Even if the Jade Emperor himself showed up, he still wouldn't let anyone pass. Jo stepped closer and stared at him, but the guard only got nastier. Looking at her with a disgusting smirk, he mocked that with such a foxy face, she was probably carrying every disease imaginable, and told them to get lost. Chen finally stepped in and said if the guy's mouth was itching that badly, he should rub hemorrhoid cream on it instead of standing there spraying garbage. The guard didn't back down and kept running his mouth. That was enough. Chen's patience hit 0. Without another word, he pulled out his gun and fired. One shot. No warning, no speeches, just instant consequences. As Chen shot the guard clean through, he strode over and kicked the body aside, saying it was a glycerin enema. Cannon fodder, and he should act like cannon fodder. Our boy was on one tonight. Quang shouted that they were all coming out, more guards pouring from the building like angry ants. Chen snatched up the fallen gun and told Quang that today he would show him what a CF gun god looked like. Crossfire Champion, Apocalypse Edition. As Quang floored it, Chen sat in the back of the vehicle, picking off guards one by one like he was at a carnival shooting gallery. Clean shot after clean shot. One guard threw his weapon down, dropped to his knees in the rain, and begged to be spared, crying for his life like a baby. Chen beat him with the butt of the gun anyway. No mercy in the apocalypse. They burst through the hospital entrance, tires screeching. Jo was already shouting for old Kin before the vehicle even stopped. Dr. Kin shuffled out, eyes going wide, and asked little Rose if she was alright. Noting the acid rain outside and how she had gotten there, Jo brushed it off, saying never mind that, and demanded to know how the experiment was progressing. Meanwhile, Chen had already found himself a cute nurse, turning on the charm and told her that the apocalypse was here. He was scared, real scared, and asked if she could check him out, like he was at a singles bar and not a hospital under siege. Jo's eye twitched. She marched over, caught Chen by the ear and twisted hard, saying it looked like he was waiting for a beating. 2 ear pulls in one night. Dr. Kin asked who the young man was. Jo replied that he was Chen, and she would not have made it there without him. Old Kin nodded slowly, saying he saw the young man was something else. The nurse scoffed from behind her counter, saying so what if he was? The apocalypse had just begun, and surviving to the end was what really mattered. Old Kin sighed, saying it was tough in the apocalypse, and there were not many capable young people like Chung Wei. The nurse immediately perked up, saying of course her Chung Wei was a cut above the rest. He had resources and connections, and was not like ordinary people. The way she said it, you'd think Chung Wei walked on water. Chen tilted his head and asked if her Chung Wei's crap was gold-plated. The nurse got red-faced, demanded what he meant, and accused him of being jealous. Her rage value increased by 225. There it was. Chen told her not to judge a book by its cover or she would get slapped in the face later. Words of wisdom, honestly. The nurse wasn't done. She went off, saying her Chung Wei had endless rice, flour, and oil even in the apocalypse. He even brought her white flour steamed buns that very morning. Could Chen do that? She told him not to think she didn't know what he was trying to do by getting close to her sister. He wanted their resources and wanted to suck up to them, right? The assumptions were flying. Chen smirked. Now it was about white flour steamed buns. Quang, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up, a confused look on her face. She questioned the mention of white flour steamed buns and asked Meower if she knew that Chen ate beef noodles at home. Meower let out a sharp laugh, looking at Quang like she'd just claimed the moon was made of cheese. She asked if she was so hungry she was starting to talk nonsense. She said resources were monopolized. The higher-ups had already collected all supplies for a unified distribution. Ordinary families were lucky to have 2 bundles of noodles, let alone beef, and even her Chung Wei couldn't get any, so how could he? The logic seemed airtight to her tiny brain. Chen reached over and knocked her on the head with his knuckles, asking if she had just got back from Dunhuang with so many murals. Her rage value increased by 376. Not bad, but he knew she could do better. Dr. Kin asked the young man if he might be so bold as to ask whether his father was in the government. Qin said no. He asked if his father was in business. Qin said no, just a regular guy with a scooter and a lot of beef. Meower jumped in, telling her grandpa not to ask anymore. She told him to look at Qin, he was just a loudmouth hoodlum, and not to waste his time on him. The girl was on a mission to dig her own grave. Quang looked at Meower with something between pity and disgust and said, did she know how stupid she was? Meower cut her off mid-sentence. completely missing the point, and said that she knew her sister was jealous that Brother Chongwei chose her. She told her not to worry. For the sake of their sisterhood, she could ask Brother Chongwei to overlook her past behavior and give her a bite to eat. Smack. Chen's palm connected with her cheek before she could finish her little speech. He said he would give her a slap across the face first and see how she kept blabbering. Mauer clutched her face, shrieking, calling him a stinky hoodlum and asking how he dared hit her. Her rage value increased by 558. There it was, smack. Another slap, clean and efficient. Chen told her to stop acting so noble. He asked if she thought she was a princess and which KTV she worked at. Mauer called him a bastard and said he was finished. Her rage value increased by 637. The numbers were climbing nicely tonight. She screamed that how dare he offend her. Her Chongwei was with the Huayo group, and with just one word from her she could make him disappear from Jiang City. Chen acted scared, his face going through an entire theater performance of terror, and said the Huayo group wasn't that the biggest group in Jiang City? This was bad. Oscar-worthy. Right on cue, Chongwei strutted in like he owned the place. Mauer immediately threw herself into Chongwei's arms, sobbing, saying, "Honey, they were bullying her." Chongwei puffed up his chest and asked who dared bully his woman. They must be tired of living. Chen and Quine got visible chills watching the cringe unfold. This was a soap opera now. Mauer pointed a shaking finger, tears and all, and said, "Honey, it was him, that rogue just harassed her, and when she refused he hit her." The lie came out smooth as butter. Chongwei snapped his fingers and told his guards what they were waiting for. "Go get him." The guards moved in like trained gorillas. As they approached, Chen beat them down. Quick, methodical. Only their hands were left throbbing in pain. Chen shook his own hand dramatically and said, "Ouch," then looked at the groaning guards and asked if the big brothers were all right. The audacity was art. Mauer's face twisted in confusion and fury, asking what was going on with them and telling them to hurry up and cripple him. Her rage value increased by 115, desperation creeping in. One of the guards, a real tough guy, pulled out a knife and lunged at Chen. Chen used his legs to kick him square in the nuts, and as the man crumpled, Chen said, "Sorry, it reflects. Let's try again." The guard didn't get up. Chongwei spat, calling them useless. All of them were useless. The boss wasn't happy. Quine stepped forward, voice cold and steady. She told Chongwei she knew he got close to Mauer just to get the gene experiment data today, to become the first awakened and monopolize the technology to rule the apocalypse. Boom, the whole truth laid bare. Mauer immediately erupted, saying she was talking nonsense. Chongwei truly loved her. The gene data was the result of her and Grandpa's hard work. As her grandson-in-law, it was only right to give it to Chongwei. Chen clapped his hands together and said that was interesting. It was the first time he had seen a weasel wishing the chicken a happy new year, and the chicken not only marinating itself, but also personally slaughtering its whole family to make a full chicken feast for the weasel. Her rage value increased by 216. She told him to shut up. Chang'e wasn't like what he said. The denial was strong. Chen pulled out some papers from thin air. He said the data was there. He would give them the data if they just spared his brother's life. Okay. The performance was spectacular, full of fake desperation. Dr. Chin blinked, thinking, when did the data? His mind was clearly trying to catch up. Qiang's face hardened, and she thought to herself that she didn't expect Chen to be that kind of person. Chengwei's eyes lit up, a greedy grin spreading across his face. He said, kid, he was smart, to bring the file over and it would spare his life. Hook, line, and sinker. Mauer sneered, saying she thought he had some guts, but he was just a spineless wretch. As Chen handed over the papers, Qiang's thoughts were dark. She promised herself that if she survived today, she would definitely take Chen's dog life. The moment both Chengwei and the Mauer got their grubby hands on the data, Chengwei smirked and told the guards to take them away. The Mauer grabbed her husband's arm and told him to look at Chen and said she wanted him to use Chen as a scapegoat to end her anger. Chengwei puffed up and said that the madam had spoken and asked what they were waiting for, telling them to do it. The guards started moving. Chen held up a hand. Wait a minute. The Mauer asked what was the matter, if he was getting scared now, and said it was too late. Chen tilted his head and said sorry, but ever since the apocalypse, he really had not tasted the feeling of fear. Not a single drop. The Mauer waved the gene experiment data in the air like a trophy and asked how long he could keep up his tough talk now that it was in their hands. Chen said, sorry, it was not there anymore. And just like that, the data appeared in his hands, the papers in hers vanishing like smoke. Chengwei's face went white, confused, asking when he had done that. The Mauer shrieked, asking what they were waiting for, telling them to hurry up and snatch it back. Chen asked, snatch it back for what? And he told them to just stand there as he flicked open a lighter and held the flame to the corner of the data. The fire caught fast. Chengwei screamed that he was a lunatic, but Chen was already moving, conjuring up a rope from the system and tying all of them up in a flash. Neat little package. Chen dusted off his hands and said they were screwed and that no one would get it now. The data was ash. Kwang shouted, her voice cracking, asking Chen if he had a tumor in his brain and if he knew how important that thing was. She was shaking. Chen turned to her, completely calm, and asked her if she believed in light. Kwang, desperate and confused, said she believed. She actually said it. Chen laughed louder, a full belly laugh echoing through the hospital halls. He said that she actually believed in such a childish thing, calling her an idiot. The madman was consistent. Kwang was very angry, her face flushing red, and asked him if it was that funny. Her rage value increased by 888 as she crept up behind him, murder in her eyes. Chen thought that the system should settle the score. The system popped up right on cue. This time, a total of 4,695 rage points were obtained, which had been exchanged for the host's private quota of 4,695,000. The current quota was 26,800,000. Our boy was swimming in it now. Kwang caught Chen by the ear, yanking hard, and said she was talking to him, asking what he was pretending to be profound for. Another ear pull. His poor ears were taking a beating tonight. Chen thought that it was still a little short but said out loud not to worry. The gene experiment package was on him, like it was a dinner tab he was picking up. Kwang's eyes widened. She asked, young man, was he also a medical researcher? The disbelief was thick. The Mauer butted in, asking, him a researcher? Then she called her own grandfather an old fool, saying that if it were not for his senility, Chongwei and she could have at least passed on this technology, and asked if he was satisfied now, blaming everyone but herself. Chen wagged a finger and said you could not say that, and told her not to act recklessly just because she had a problem with her brain. Fair advice, honestly. The Mauer shot back that he was the one with the problem in his brain. Her rage value increased by 288. Still rookie numbers, but she was trying. Our boy just grinned. Some things never changed. As Chen finished tying both of them up like Christmas turkeys, he stood back and mocked them, saying that they were so fierce. He had had his rabies shots, and did they think he would be afraid of them? Our boy was in full troll mode now. Mauer thrashed against the ropes and told him that if he had the guts, he should untie her. Her rage value increased by 359. Chen asked her what about her. He had told her she had wild chicken emotional breakdown syndrome, and she still would not admit it. She got triggered so easily, her mental resilience was really poor. Chen said again not to be so quick to jump the gun. Her rage value increased by 543. The numbers were beautiful tonight. Mauer thought to herself, seething, that when the Hyo people came, she was going to personally twist off Chen's head and kick it off the building at their home. Dark. But our boy just kept smiling. Back at the apartment, Gina asked Sister Hao if she had not slept all night. Hao replied that she could not sleep, not a wink. Zener, ever the optimist, said not to worry. Her brother was so strong. Others would always be the one to suffer. She had that much faith in him. Just then she saw Ha running at the door and closing it and going somewhere. Sheena said it was quite a distance to the hospital from there, and it was so dangerous outside. What should they do? Bei Wei, lounging as always, asked what the hell. Were they rushing to a funeral? Zener immediately called him a brat and asked what nonsense he was spouting. His older brother had gone to the trouble of freezing him, and he was actually cursing him to die, she said. He was an ingrate, plain and simple. Bei Wei shot back that he had killed his brother. Should he be grateful to him? Fair point, but wrong time. Sheena said she was not arguing about that right then. Sister Hao was worried about brother and had already run out. Bei Wei was shocked. Hao had slipped away. Back at the hospital, Dr. Qin asked young brother Chen if he could really make human genes evolve. Chen told him not to worry, old sir, if he did not believe him. Did he not believe little Rose? Then he clapped his hands together and said he must be hungry after all that commotion. So come on, have some breakfast. As he said this, he conjured up a whole table full of food. Dr. Qin stared. Breakfast? A whole table full of breakfast? Steamed buns, soy milk, tea bags, century egg, and lean pork congee. There was even shrimp dumpling king. The spread was insane. Mauer's eyes nearly bugged out of her head, thinking how this was possible. It was the apocalypse. All the supplies had clearly been monopolized, and this was clearly conjured out of thin air. Magic. Actual magic. Mauer's brain finally clicked. Could it be that this man Chen was awakened? An actual awakened being standing right in front of her. Chong Wei, ever the survivalist, immediately switched gears. He started groveling, calling out brother, please spare him from now on. Chong Wei would follow him. Whatever Chen asked him to do, he would do. The turnaround was whiplash fast. Chen asked if that was so. Was he willing to do anything? Testing the waters. Mauer jumped on the bandwagon too, saying brother-in-law, she was willing to do anything too, and she knew how to do a lot more than her sister. The implication was thick enough to cut with a knife. Chen asked what kind of tricks. Show him. Mauer hesitated, asking, here? Chen asked what was wrong. Suddenly she knew shame. He thought that face of hers was just a human skin mask, and whether she acted like a human or not depended entirely on her mood. Savage, Mauer cursed under her breath, saying, "Damn it, that stinky man did not know what was good for him." Her rage value increased to 553. Quang finally stepped in, her voice sharp, telling them to stop playing around. Chongwei had not gone back to his group. The Huayo people would definitely make a move. This was serious. Chen stretched his arms and asked what they were afraid of. Whether they were cockroaches or rats, they would wipe them all in one go. Confidence was not in short supply. Quang shouted that she knew he was skilled, but the master of the Huayo group had been learning various martial arts since he was a child and was proficient in fighting techniques. If they encountered him, they would surely die. The fear in her voice was real. Just then, a booming sound came from outside. A voice echoed through the hospital halls, telling the people inside to listen up. Obediently hand out the gene research data, otherwise that hospital would be blown to the ground in a minute. Our boy Chen cracked his neck. Looked like breakfast would have to wait. The cockroaches had arrived. As the voice boomed from outside, a whole squad of people in suits had gathered, and a guy in a red-colored suit stepped forward, shouting that they had 30 seconds left. 30 seconds till everything went boom. The green-haired guy beside him asked the third master why they didn't just rush in. The red-shirt guy smacked him on the head and asked if he wanted to end up like them. The green-haired guy stammered that Supervisor Lee had already rushed up, and when they looked to cover Lee like that, the red-shirt guy hit him again. Some people never learned. Inside, Quang's face went pale. She said that it was not good. Xiao Baiye was downstairs. She will hold them for a bit, and they should leave. Chen leaned back in his chair and said that there was no rush. People relied on food as their primary need, and they should eat first. Qin stood up, his old bones creaking, and said that now the data had been destroyed. Baiye needed him, he would hold them off, and they should hurry up and go. Chongwei started yapping, telling them to stop arguing, that no one of them would leave today, to hurry up and release him, serve him good food and drink, and then respectfully send their daddy down. He stomped his leg right on Chongwei's face, and said that he was the one with all the damn talk. Our boy was tired of the yapping. From upstairs, the Mauer started shouting, "Young master, they're in the third-floor lab." The green-haired guy outside perked up, saying that was little Mauer's voice. "Third master, and they should hurry up and save her." Baiye slapped him across the face and thought to himself that the guy must be really hungry, that he would eat any trash. Desperate times. His men brought all those explosives right up to the entrance. Chen strolled out of the building, hands in his pockets, and said that the Haoye group's young master was indeed decisive, a compliment wrapped in sarcasm. Baiye looked Chen up and down, unimpressed, and told the kid to go back and tell his master to either hand over the data or prepare to die. Chen asked about his master, playing dumb. Baiye explained that otherwise there were no more than 3 people in Jiang City who could kill so many people single-handedly. How could such a big shot be a weakling like him? The logic tracked, he just had the wrong guy. Chen asked what if he told him that he was one of them, meaning the one who had killed all those people, just casually dropping that bombshell. Baiye's fist connected with Chen's face before he could finish his smug smile. Our boy hit the ground. Chen thought, holy crap, that was fast. Baiye stood over him and told the kid that showing off in the apocalypse wasn't a smart move, a lesson delivered with a punch. Chen propped himself up on his elbows and said that the Haoye group young master was nothing more than that. Still talking, still provoking. Baiye's eyes darkened. He asked if Chen wanted to die. As Chen went down at the 3rd floor, Dr. Qin caught Quang's hand and told her, "Little Rose, not to be impulsive." The old man's grip was surprisingly strong. Quang pulled against him, saying no, she had to go help him. Dr. Qin shook his head and said he had lived to this age and was pretty good at judging people, and he thought her younger brother Chen was no ordinary person. He didn't seem like the kind of person who would blindly throw his life away. The old man had seen things. Sheng Wei, still tied up on the floor, told him to cut it out and stop deceiving himself, old man, and said instead of wasting time, he better hurry up and read a copy of the data, because that was his only chance of survival. Mauer slithered over to Quang, voice dripping with fake sweetness, and said, "Sister, they were all family," and as long as she softened her stance, admitted her mistake and said she wasn't as good as her, she would put in a good word for her and ask the young masters to spare her. The audacity was breathtaking. Quang asked her if Baiye would take a fancy to her. Flat tone, no emotion. Mauer said of course her suitors could line up all the way to Shanghai. Quang said that was because her standards were low, not because she was charming. Clean hit. Mauer's face twisted, saying she was just jealous of her. Quang just walked away, done with the conversation. Mauer shouted after Quang, asking what she meant by that and telling her to get back. Downstairs, the fight was heating up. Chen evaded Baiye's kick, slipping to the side like water. The young master said they were overestimating themselves and told the guards to set up the explosives. Chen held up a hand and said, "Wait." Baiye looked at him, almost amused, and said, "Kid," he admitted his physique was not bad, but if he tried to stop him again, he could send him to the afterlife within 3 moves. Chen dusted off his jacket and said, "All right then." 3 moves were enough to deal with all of them. Our boy just flipped the script. The green-haired guy jumped up laughing like a hyena, asking if he had been beaten silly because he couldn't even withstand 1 move from the 3rd master and thought he could take all of them down in 3 moves, and he himself could take him down in 1 move. He came charging in, fist raised, all confidence and 0 brains. Kwang burst through the door and blocked him, her arms crossed in front of her, telling Chen to run. The punch connected anyway, sending Kwang flying backward. She hit the ground hard and gasped, "Holy crap, ouch." As Kwang fell right onto Chen, knocking them both into a heap, he asked if she ate iron weights for breakfast. Kwang scolded him that it was already this late and he was still mouthing off. Her rage value increased by 255. Even when saving his life, she was generating points. Baye looked down at the tangled pair and asked if Chen was thinking of relying on a woman to settle things with them. The guard beside him snickered, saying he thought this kid had some skills but he was just a gigolo, a coward hiding behind a woman, and he thought he could take them down. That was hilarious. The other guard piled on, saying how embarrassing, and if it were him he would have found a crack in the ground to crawl into long ago. The mockery was in full swing. Chen, still on the ground with Kwang half on top of him, muttered, "System, settle score." The system popped up. This time a total of 2,926 rage points were obtained, which were exchanged for the host's private quota of 2,926,000. But Chen was frustrated, thinking he was still short of 300 rage points. So close. He said that stupid woman should get out of the way and not interfere with his grandstanding. Kwang shouted, "Chen!" Her rage increased by 266, and she screamed that it was already this late and he was still showing off, that Baye was not someone he could deal with at all, and told him to get lost. She was genuinely terrified for him. Chen told her he had told her to get out of the way and asked if she couldn't understand human language. Harsh. Kwang's eyes welled up, tears spilling over, and she stood up, backing away. She said fine, if he wanted to die, she would grant his wish. Her rage points increased by 118. She thought it was all over, that she was watching a dead man walk, but then Baye gave the order, "Finish him." The guards surged forward. Chen cracked his neck and said, "System, settle score." Our boy was about to put on a show. 300 short or not, it was time to dance. Before the fight even started, a sleek car pulled up and out stepped a woman with hair as white as snow. She looked around and said that she didn't expect to be awakened in this world already, that it was interesting, and she asked Baye if this was the good show he wanted her to see. Baye hesitated, his confidence flickering for just a moment, and said, "Xiao?" The system pinged in Chen's head, informing him that Gao Xiao was the eldest daughter of the Gao family, one of the 3 major families in Jiang City, and her rage value calculation multiplier was 10 times that of an ordinary person. 10 times. Chen saw her and his eyes went straight to her chest, thinking that her figure was more than a C, and he wondered why she had such a high rage value right from the start, if she was just naturally bad-tempered. Our boy had a one-track mind, even in a standoff. Kwang caught Chen by the ear and yanked hard, asking where he was looking. Her rage value increased by 298. Busted. Chen and Xiao exchanged introductions, all polite and formal, like they weren't surrounded by armed thugs. Kwang muttered under her breath that Chen was a pervert, pretending to be a decent man. She wasn't wrong. Jiao's gaze landed on Dr. Qin, and her expression softened. She told him that it was a pleasure to meet him, and that his gene modification technique was truly amazing. If he was willing to pass on this technology, it would surely change the entire apocalypse. Chen cut in, asking if passing on to other families wouldn't work, and whether it had to be passed on to her Gao family to change the apocalypse. Poking the bear. Xiao replied coolly that the Gao family had a top-notch gene research team and was highly valued by the higher-ups. They had all the resources, technology, and connections, and they were the best choice in the current apocalypse. The sales pitch was polished. Chen snorted and said that she talked so big and asked why they didn't develop it themselves. Her rage value increased by 2,076. Man, that 10 times multiplier was no joke. The number jumped like crazy. Shihao kept her composure, saying that Mr. Chen should not be unreasonable, and she hoped old Qin could seriously consider it. Whatever his requirements were, the Gao family could satisfy them. All business. Chen said that she was asking the wrong person. Cryptic. Xiao's eye twitched. She said that she was talking to old Qin and told Mr. Chen to be quiet. Her rage value increased by 3,079. The multiplier was working overtime. Dr. Qin stepped forward, humble as ever, and said that he was ashamed to say the gene modification technology he had researched was indeed a bit lacking. The admission hung in the air. Xiao's brow furrowed, thinking, could it be? Just then Baye, who had been hiding and listening to the whole conversation like a snake in the grass, got up and said that they had chatted enough. Xiao turned to him and asked Baye what he meant by this. Baye flicked open a lighter, the flame dancing in his palm, and said to hand over the modification data, otherwise none of them would survive. The game had changed. Xiao's voice went cold. She said that Baye wanted to take it all for themselves. The double cross was clear. Baye laughed, saying that as long as he got the data, let alone her Gao family, even the Wang family in Beijing would have to lick his boot. The arrogance was off the charts. Chen clapped slowly and said that he was so arrogant, you could tell he had the Animal Association backing him up. Even in a hostage situation, the man couldn't stop. Baye pointed a gun straight at Chen's head and said that he had put up with him for a long time, and asked if he kept yapping, did he really think he was a vegetarian? The safety clicked off. Chen grinned wide, completely unfazed, and said that this was the first time he was going to die with someone, and he was so excited. Baye had enough. He told his men to throw them all into the building. The guards grabbed everyone, shoving them through the doors. One of them kicked Chen hard in the back, sending him stumbling inside. The doors slammed shut behind them. Xiao shouted that it was one thing for Chen to seize old Chen's research data, but he even wanted to use Zhao Baye to eliminate them all while using his superpower to stay out of it. What a great plan. Huang muttered that his brain wasn't that complicated. She was giving him too much credit. Chen thought with hesitation that her brain was simple. Her whole family were paramecia, and she shouldn't think he couldn't see that she was secretly plotting. Her rage value increased by 289. Jihao snapped that their lives were on the line and they still had the mood to bicker. Fair point. Dr. Qin, calm as ever, said that he believed in younger brother Chen's abilities. They would definitely be able to leave that building safely. The old man's faith was unshakable. Xiao said that since old Qin had said so, she would trust him this once. Not like she had much choice. Outside the hospital building, Baye planted the explosives and lit the fire as all of them watched the hospital burst into flames. The heat was intense, flames licking up the walls. After that, Baye thought that if he couldn't be awakened, then neither could they, so they could all go to hell. Scorched earth, literally. The green-haired guy squinted at the inferno and said that Third Master had said that little punk was relying on his superpower, and he asked if that explosive could kill him. Legitimate question. Baye scoffed, full of confidence, saying that that little bit of superpower was nothing. That was tons of explosives. If even half an ounce of his ashes remained, he would do a handstand and wash his hair. Then from inside the smoke, a voice rang out. Chen said that then Baye had better prepare a lot of shampoo. Both of them were shocked, spinning around. As the smoke cleared, there was the whole gang walking out of the burning building without a scratch. Chen stepped forward and said, hey, not to play with fire carelessly, or he might wet the bed at night. Our boy was utterly unbothered. Baye's jaw dropped, wondering if that kid was a monster. Sao crossed her arms and said that Baye had lost. Simple declaration. Baye's face twisted. He said, hey, they were underestimating him too much, and the guards pointed their guns toward the group. Sao said that Baye thought he could deal with them with just a few guns, and he was really overestimating himself. The Gao family confidence was strong. Sao silently sidled up next to Chen and asked, hey, whether his mana bar had no cooldown. Chen said, he didn't know. Honest answer. Xiao was shocked. As Baye screamed attack, the guards opened fire, guns blazing. Chen thought that there were so many guns there was no time to escape, and he could only take a gamble. In a flash, every single one of their guns transformed into water gun toys. Bright plastic, the kind kids played with in summer. The guard shouted, looking at his weapon, asking what it was, what was going on, and why he thought that. Chen said that Third Master, had he just gotten that firepower wholesale from the bathhouse downstairs? It was spraying quite evenly. The mockery was surgical. Just then, a car screeched up, and Beiwei arrived with the whole gang from the apartment. She leaned out the window and said, hey, their guns were over there. She waved, casual as anything, and said hi. Beiwei's eyes found Chen. Even Chen was shocked, his eyebrows shooting up. Chen looked up at the sky, felt the temperature dropping fast, and said that the weather was changing. The cold wave was finally here. Perfect timing as always. He told everyone to hurry. Everyone piled into the car and they peeled out. The blue-haired guy pressed his face against the window and said the acid rain was coming again. Once inside, Chen told them to close all the windows and drive to Jiang City Elementary School, and to leave the acid rain to him. Our boy was taking charge. Xiao in the backseat snapped that they could not go to Jiang City Elementary School. That area had already been designated a level A restricted zone. Even the stray cats on the roadside had mutated. Going there was suicide. She said it with absolute certainty. Beiwei asked if there would not be a lot of zombies there. Chen said that was right. Then what were they waiting for? Full speed ahead. The man was allergic to caution. Xiao lunged forward and caught Chen by the throat, her fingers tightening, and said she had already said it was a level A restricted zone. If he wanted to die, he should go by himself. She was very angry. Her rage value increased by 4498. The 10 times multiplier was making her a goldmine. Beiwei, staring out the window, said the acid rain was there. Droplets started pelting the roof. Dr. Qin remarked to his brother that acid rain was highly corrosive, yet this iron car was fine, and that Chen was indeed no ordinary person. The old man was connecting the dots. Senior asked why they were going to Jiang City Elementary School. Xiao, still fuming, said probably because someone Chen once loved was there. The car went quiet for a second. Chen stood up in the moving vehicle and told everyone that in this apocalypse he could not accomplish accomplish anything by himself. He would unleash their potential so that everyone could protect their loved ones and survive in this apocalypse. Kwang looked up at him and asked him to please get off the seat first. Priorities. Back at the elementary school, the place was a wreck. A black cat with a fierce expression and glowing red eyes crept toward two terrified kids. The kids backed away, telling the black cat he should not be like this. They had not eaten anything all day either, and told him not to come over. As the black cat bunched its muscles and leaped at them, a gunshot cracked through the air and it dropped dead. It was Bei Wei who shot it. She told everyone not to be afraid. With this young lady there, even if zombies came, they would have to take a couple of hit flicks first. Before reaching here, Chen asked the young lady what her special skill was. Bei Wei puffed up and said she had never lost a game of marbles since she was little, and asked if that counted. Chen handed her a small marble, glowing faintly, and said of course it counted. He told her to eat it, and she would not only have unlimited marbles, but its effect would also increase with her abilities. Yeah, he is giving superpowers like groceries, and maybe he awakened everyone. A child tugged at Bei Wei's sleeve and asked the big sister if she was there to save them. Bei Wei replied that as long as they obediently listened to this young lady, she could reluctantly help them. Bei Wei knelt down and asked if they had seen a child named Chen Yuqing from Class 1, Grade 3. The kid shook his head, saying no. A loud noise boomed from outside, shaking the building. Bei Wei, with marbles already forming in her hand, told them to stay there and not move. She would go take a look. As Bei Wei kicked the door open with a bang, she announced that this young lady had arrived. Dramatic entrance, 10 out of 10. Inside, a buzzcut guy was there, holding hands with a woman who had a child, and he was telling her not to be afraid, sister. With him there, he definitely would not let anything happen to her. Bei Wei tossed a marble straight at his head, nailing him right on the forehead, and shouted that it was already this late and he was still thinking about picking up girls. Her rage value increased by 337. Some things never changed. Later, while Bei Wei and the teacher sat together with the children, talking through what had happened, Bei Wei asked if the teacher also did not know where Yuqing was. The teacher, exhausted and pale, said that since the end of the world they had been trapped there. The food in the cafeteria had long all been eaten. Some strange people and animals had broken in that morning. They bit anyone they saw. Everyone was panicking, and the school had become total chaos. A sudden crash echoed from upstairs. Bei Wei told the teacher to stay put and said she would go up and take a look. As Bei Wei climbed to the upper floors, she rounded a corner and saw Chen beating a guy senseless, just wailing on him. Chen was telling the guy to hurry up, get up, and prove he was useless. Our boy was in full drill sergeant mode. Bei Wei shouted, asking Chen what was wrong with him. Chen said that waste just now. Didn't even elaborate. 10 minutes earlier, Chen had been running through the hallways shouting, "Yuqing, where are you?" A small voice called back from inside a room, "Brother." Chen rushed toward that room, his face lighting up, and said, "Yuqing." A guy stepped in front of him, arms spread wide, and said, "Stop, what do you want?" Chen said he was Chen Yuqing's brother, there to take her home. Simple. The guy squinted and asked, "You say so? How do you prove it?" Chen was confused and said he came to pick her up from school every week. Didn't he recognize him? Besides, she had already called him brother. How could it be wrong? The guy glared, his chin jutting out, and said he didn't know just anyone. The situation was special now. If Chen could not prove he was who he said he was, how could he rest assured letting Yuqing go with him? Chen's expression shifted. He said, oh, if he put it that way, he now suspected the guy was not a teacher there at all. Unless he could prove it, none of the children there could be handed over to him. He took a deep breath and shouted for the children to tell him loudly who he was. The children shouted in unison, "Teacher Zhao." After that, Teacher Zhao crossed his arms and said, "Did you hear that? Get lost." Chen said since Yuqing calling him brother could not prove he was her brother, the children calling him teacher also could not prove he was a teacher. Fair was fair. Zhao got red-faced and said, "Hey, don't be deliberately unreasonable." Chen's eyes narrowed and he said he suspected he was not Teacher Zhao at all. Maybe he was a mutated species with cerebellar atrophy. Then Chen took a step closer and told him to immediately call his mother to the school to prove that he was himself. His mother was his mother and their parent-child relationship. Otherwise, he would blow his head off. Teacher Zhao puffed up his chest and asked if Chen believed he would blow his head off right then, and threw a punch straight at him. Chen caught the fist mid-air like it was nothing and told him to wait a minute, that they should hide under the table in the corner first, and to remember to crouch down and hug their little heads. Our boy was oddly specific about the hiding position. Teacher Zhao thought that although he was very brave, this was a bit exaggerated. The man was talking about hiding under tables while holding a fist. A little voice called out to Chen, calling him brother, and said that they were hiding properly. Teacher Zhao, still trying to act tough, told the kid that if he was a man he should not hide, but our boy threw him like a pitching ball and broke the door in an instant. Chen told him to take care of his happy farm and not to go out if his vegetables died in the future. He raised his hand and said that there was still hope for him. A screaming voice echoed from somewhere below, and Chen thought that there was a girl. Zhao suddenly woke up energetically, his eyes going wide, and said that was Teacher Wenlan's voice. Chen kicked his face without hesitation and said that there were mutants everywhere there, and to take care of themselves first. Zhao clutched his nose, saying that Teacher Wenlan was in danger. Zhao thought, damn it, this was the best opportunity to get Teacher Wenlan. Even in mortal danger, the man was thinking about scoring points. Beiwei appeared in the doorway, hands on her hips, and asked if he had buried his sister alive. Chen told her to shut up if she could not speak properly. Only Beiwei would ask something like that. As broken wood cracked from under the tables, a small figure emerged. Yuqing said brother and ran toward him. Chen's whole face changed, lighting up, and he happily said Yuqing. They started playing while circling around, spinning like it was a sunny day in the park and not the apocalypse. Beiwei got mad and shouted that her brother's 7th-day memorial had not even passed yet, and told them not to go too far. Her rage value increased by 667. Zhao, still on the floor nursing his face, said never mind who was going too far. If they did not go down now, he was going to pass his 7th-day memorial. Fair point. Chen snapped out of it and said he was sorry, Teacher Zhao. Yuqing had been found, so he asked about Gao and Xiao and the others. Beiwei shrugged and said she did not know about the others, but Miss Gao should be teaching literacy to the zombies. Teaching literacy to zombies. Yuqing tilted her head and gave off a deeply confused expression. Downstairs, a zombie was cornered, backed against a wall like a frightened dog. Xiao loomed over it and said that Paul Stoltz once proposed that for every 10% increase in adversity quotient, work performance rose by an average of 21 percentage points. She added that when encountering difficulties, they could be solved by listening, exploring, analyzing, and acting. The zombie screamed in pain as Xiao leaned in close and used Devil's Whisper, her voice dropping to a sinister murmur. She told the zombie that although it was a novice zombie, shrinking back would only make it hungrier and more looked down upon by its kind, and she invited it to show her its change. The zombie let out a final shriek and just died. Talk to death, for real. Pei Wei watched from the side and remarked that the mental strength of a young lady from a prominent family was indeed terrifying. Yuqing clapped her little hands and said it looked amazing. Chen laughed hard, practically doubled over, and said it was just like Tang Senzang, the monk who could kill demons with a lecture. Xiao spun around, her eyes blazing, and asked angrily if he wanted to try. Chen still laughed and said she suddenly remembered she still had an old hand stewing on the stove at home, and bid farewell as they fought together. Xiao lunged at him, trying to grab his ear. Chen said no way, and he cried out not to pull his ear. Then the teacher stepped forward and asked if they were all ability users. Xiao, still holding Chen by the ear, said yes, and that it was very dangerous there and she needed to evacuate as soon as possible. The teacher began to thank them, her voice thick with gratitude, saying that if it weren't for them, they would have. Chen stopped her mid-sentence with a raised hand and said not to be in a hurry to thank her. He had only come to take Yuqing away and hadn't intended to be a hero. The teacher's mouth snapped shut. Xiao thought that Chen actually didn't take advantage of the situation. Her respect was clearly growing. The system popped up. Xiao's favorability increased by plus 20, making the current favorability 30. After a successful capture, the host would receive a private quota of 10 million, as well as the supplies Xiao had consumed. Chen thought that one nobility fruit cost 100,000, and this was a 100-fold increase, directly recovering tens of millions. He thought she had struck it rich. Our boy was already doing the math. The teacher said she could understand but thanked them all anyway. The buzzcut guy, always the soft heart, asked his boss if they really weren't going to take care of the children, since they were all kids. Chen replied that there were dozens of kindergartens in Jiangcheng and asked if they had to take care of all of them. Cold logic. Xiao said she supported Chen's approach and that it was very dangerous there after nightfall. For once they agreed. The basket guy, ever the optimist, suggested giving an ability fruit to Teacher Wenlan, so she might awaken a powerful talent. Pei Wei told Xiao that was enough. Basket guy shrank back. Chen thought that kid was quite unusual, filing that away for later. Then an alarm blared from outside, shrill and urgent. Xiao's face went pale, and she said it was not good. It was the official alarm, and there were extremely dangerous monsters nearby, so they couldn't leave. Beiwei pressed her face against the window and said with a sigh that the acid rain was still falling, and they would probably have to spend the night there. Chen said that the first thing they needed to do right then was to clear out all the zombie hidden dangers in the school. No arguments. As zombies approached from every dark corner, they took out each one of them, methodical and clean. Beiwei announced that she would take the middle floors and that her marbles never missed. Xiao said not to worry, that she had not gone back and the Gao family would find this place soon. The zombies died one by one, dropping like flies. Buzzcut guy got bitten by a mutant cat, jaws clamping down on his arm, but its teeth shattered on impact. He kicked its face, sending the toothless cat flying, and said to leave the teacher and children to him. Chen said that he would bring old Kin in and then seal the school gate. Dr. Kin was sitting and playing games on a handheld console, like he was waiting for a bus, and not in the middle of a zombie outbreak. A zombie crept up behind the vehicle, and Chen appeared out of nowhere, cutting its neck in one clean swipe. Chen said gone and knocked on the window of the car. Kin came out and said that little brother, you are still so energetic, and it seemed the crisis in the school district had been resolved. As they went inside the school, they saw all the zombies lying motionless on the ground, a carpet of bodies. Chen saw this and said that it was so fierce, it must be the work of that shrew Kwang. Right on cue, Kwang materialized behind him and asked if he wanted to become like them. Her rage value increased by 336. Kwang then reported that the first floor had been cleared, only 5 children survived, and asked how things were on his end. Chen said that it was about the same, but they needed to make a plan for what was next. In the classroom of Class 2 Year 3, they were all gathered around. Chen asked what, and then turned to Miss Xiao, asking if she understood. If they forced their way out, were the chances of success high? Xiao replied flatly that it was not high, only 30%. Chen cheered, his face lighting up, and asked 30%, as if it was that high, and said let's go. Our boy treated 30% like a guaranteed win. Xiao stared at him in disbelief and asked if he was missing a brainstem, and shouted that she meant at most only 30%. At most, her rage value increased by 66. The 10 times multiplier was working overtime tonight. Yuqing tugged at Chen's sleeve and said that Big Brother was the best and she believed in Big Brother. Blind faith from the little one. Xiao snapped, telling her not to be blindly overconfident. Their lives mattered too. Chen just grinned and cracked his knuckles. 30% was more than enough for him. It always had been. Yao asked what the probability of survival at night would be if they chose to stay there. Xiao replied that if they were not discovered, it was 100%, and if they were discovered, it was 0. Binary. Simple as that. Chen said that was exciting. Our boy was a special kind of crazy. Siner asked if even with her abilities, the survival probability was still 0. Jihao said yes, but rushing out now was no different from suicide. Chen thought for a moment, then said, and asked if they knew what kind of monsters there would be, what kind of people they like to eat. If he did not know their tastes, it would be hard to entertain them. The man was talking about hosting a dinner party for monsters. Xiao thought about marinating Chen right then and making a soy sauce flavored dish. Her rage value rapidly increased by plus 3,426. Dr. Qin, ever the calm one, said he thought little brother Chen must have a solution in mind. Chen said not really. Dr. Qin, surprised, asked what? Chen said perhaps there was a way. The room leaned in. Everybody asked what way. Chen asked the system what the next category to be unlocked was. The system said that when the amount reached 10 million, the next category, genetic modification, could be unlocked. Kwang lunged forward and caught his neck, telling him if he had a way, to say it quickly and not keep them in suspense. Chen caught her hand and told her not to worry, Big Brother would lead them all to do something big that night. The mystery was thick. As night came, everybody sat down for dinner. Chen piled food onto Yuqing's plate and told her to eat some more. Yuqing looked up with big eyes and thanked Big Brother. Beve just appeared from thin air and slammed the bowl on Chen's face, told his to eat till he stuffed to death. As night fell, zombies gathered outside of school. Qin and Kwang stood at the window, watching the horde shuffle closer. Qin said that honored guests had arrived, a grin spreading across his face. Kwang told him to stop fooling around. Zombies roared in the distance. Qin said that his meat wasn't cooked yet, as he casually picked up a piece of meat from his plate and popped it into his mouth. Baiwei, watching this, said that even at a time like this, he was still thinking about eating. Hao said that they couldn't just sit there and wait for death, and it was best to have a battle plan as soon as possible. Dr. Qin then said that he trusted Chen. With him around, his meat would definitely be well cooked, typically for hot pot. The old man was talking about hot pot while zombies clawed at the gates. Chen laughed and said that with agreement he still had good judgment. Xiao knocked him on head and said if he have a plan then spit it quickly. She doesn't have second life to joke around with him there. After some time, Chen turned to Kwang and told her to immediately go scout the enemy situation, investigate clearly and return immediately, and not to engage in conflict with them. Then he looked at the blue-haired guy and told Faye to go create fog and make things a bit difficult for them. He said that the big internet celebrity and the young lady, both area of effect types, should wait until the monsters gathered on the playground, then make their move. He glanced at Beiwei and Siner, assigning roles like a battlefield commander. Then Xiao on the side asked why she was being excluded, as she was also an AoE type. Her voice had an edge. Chen told Miss Xiao not to be anxious, that she was their secret weapon and of course must be used at the most critical moment. Smooth recovery. Hao said that her ability was a support type, and she would make plans after Kwang returned. Chen told Chao that from now on, wherever she went, he would go. His mission was to protect her. He asked what about Chen then, was he staying behind to protect Teacher Wen and the children? Chen said no. Honored guests have arrived. Of course he was going to welcome the guests. At night, near the apartment where smoke drifted through the air, a zombie lumbered forward. Chen tapped the zombie on its shoulder and said, "Hey bro, over here." The zombie turned around, confused. Chen punched him square in the face. The zombie flew backward like a rag doll, and Chen said, "Look at you. What's the hurry, you monkey? Our boy was out here giving life advice to the undead." Behind him, a massive zombie lurched forward. Before Chen could even turn, it was shot clean through both eyes. Chen spun around and said, "Oh no, who did this? They have no public decency at all." A marble ricocheted off his head. Beiwei's voice rang out, "You dare to mock me, this young lady. You are looking for a beating." Chen stayed silent, rubbing the bump forming on his skull. Senior looked around at the carnage and said, "These monsters look like they aren't very smart." Miss Yao was exaggerating too much. Hao shook her head. "No, if it weren't for face smoke, these monsters would have collectively invaded the building, and we wouldn't have been able to withstand them at all." Beiwei puffed out her chest and said, "This young lady is not afraid of any monster." Just then, near Chen, a zombie crawled up from below, its body swelling and crackling with energy. It let out a thunderous sound and burst into massive flames, its entire body engulfed in fire. Everybody shouted to run quickly. The blast echoed up to the top floors. Everybody turned back and stared at the inferno below. Xiao looked down at the flames and said, "Idiot, what's wrong with that guy?" Quang stepped forward. "I'll go help." Xiao blocked her path and said, "I have no objection if you want to die, but don't drag others down." Quang asked what she meant. Xiao's voice was sharp as glass, asking even Baez tons of explosives couldn't kill him. Did he think he'd be in trouble? Quang shot back, "Those are monsters down there. If you don't save him, don't stop me from saving him neither." She pushed past Xiao, telling her to stop putting on her airs of a young lady from a prominent family. Xiao stood there watching Quang run toward the flames. She thought to herself, "It won't happen," but her fists were clenched tight. She was concerned, genuinely concerned. As the fire spread because of the zombie, Quang broke the door and went out to save Chen. The flames were everywhere, but she didn't hesitate. Beiwei, Shiner, and Hao were watching the situation from the window. While Quang was running straight into the fire, Hao said no, she had to go down. Beiwei stopped her and told Sister Hao not to go. Hao hesitated, her hands shaking. Beiwei said not to worry. That guy was like an unkillable cockroach. Baiye's tons of explosives couldn't kill him, so this little bit of fire was nothing. Siner murmured her agreement that Beiwei was right. If they went down rashly, they would mess up everyone's plan. She added that Big Brother was the best Big Brother and he definitely wouldn't let everyone down. Hao was still concerned and thought that Chen absolutely must not get into trouble. Her knuckles were white. Chen arose from the smoke, coughing like an old chimney, and said to the zombie, calling him brother, that monsters eat raw, but he started with a barbecue, and asked if he was a man of refined taste. The zombie just stood there, thoroughly confused by this naked madman. The women on the roof collectively exhaled, relief washing over their faces. Fei and Yuqing said with a laugh that they knew it. He was truly worthy of being the boss. Xiao was happy. Actually happy. Chen told the zombie not to give up. The zombie stared at him, completely embarrassed, and not because of the speech. Chen was completely butt naked, everything on display. All the people on the roof closed their eyes in unison. Baiwei exclaimed, "Holy crap." Hao spoke with discontent, something about modesty. Xener saw his naked body with unmistakably lustful eyes, not closing them fast enough. Chen laughed and told them to relax. This young master was fine, so they didn't need to get so worked up. Kuai-Ying, from right behind him, asked if he didn't think it was a bit cold. Her voice was flat. Chen said that speaking of which, it did seem a bit chilly. As Chen looked down, he finally noticed he was completely naked. Nothing left? He said, "Holy crap." After Chen got dressed, pulling on whatever scraps of clothing he could find, the zombies surrounded them. They came from every direction, a tightening circle of rotting flesh. Chen remarked that they had all come out so quickly. Quang said that safety in the building was more important, so I'm leaving first. And just like that, she vanished into thin air. Poof, gone. As the zombies shambled toward him, Hao saw this from above and said there were so many monsters, and wondered if Chen could really handle them. Beiwei got ready with her marbles, rolling them between her fingers, and said it was a pain. Everything was a pain to her. When a zombie approached Chen from behind, its arms reaching out, Chen did the unthinkable. He farted, right on the zombie's face. The zombie screamed at the smell, reeling backward like it had been maced. Chen said, "Excuse me," adding that he'd been eating too well lately. The zombie shouted at him, some garbled undead curse. Chen said it was such foul language and called for Xiner. Beiwei calmly put in an earphone to mask the noise. Smart girl. Xiner stepped forward, speaker in hand, and sang loudly. Her voice blasted across the playground. As the zombies heard it, they all screamed in pain, clutching their heads. One by one, they just dropped. Chen told her she was awesome. Genuine praise. The remaining zombies then looked up toward the building and screamed. Dr. Qin and Xiao heard this from inside. Xiao wondered what on earth Chen was trying to do. Dr. Qin said that it seemed all the monsters in the entire restricted zone had been lured there. Every single one. Fei took care of Yuqing, covering her ears, and stayed silent after hearing the sound. Fei told Yuqing that he needed to go down to assist Sister Ho, and told her to quickly go back to the classroom. Yuqing held out a lollipop, her little hand trembling, and said that big brother Fei must come back safely. He stood up straight, his voice serious, and said that he didn't eat kids' stuff, patted her head, and said but still, thanks. He tucked the lollipop into his pocket anyway. Clean hit right in the feels. Ho shouted from the window, her face pressed against the glass, that it was not good. More monsters were coming this way. A whole new wave. Senior said that she believed in Big Brother. With him there would definitely be no problem. Her faith was absolute. Beve rolled her eyes and said that he really knew how to stir up trouble. Trouble followed that man like a shadow. Down below, Chen and Chao stood back to back as the horde closed in. Chao said that there were so many monsters. Boss, it was hard to handle. Chen asked if he was afraid of dying. Chao taking a cigarette and lighting it with shaking fingers. Chen told him to go back. Chao said that wouldn't do, bro. Without all of them, he wouldn't have survived until now, let alone have these awesome abilities. Loyal to the bone. Chen reached over and caught the cigarette mid-drag, crushing it, and said that smoking was injurious to health, and told him to stop smoking. Even in the apocalypse, he was giving health tips. As zombies approached him faster, Chen said not to ruin his cool, handsome boy image. Chao said that he got it, boss, but he wouldn't go too far from him. As he went near the zombies, Chen told the system to settle the accounts. Time to cash in. The system popped up and said that the total anger value obtained this time was 43,757, exchanged for the host's private quota of 4,375,700. Genetic modification unlocked. Ability light unlocked. Ecological domain unlocked. One after another, the notifications stacked up. Chen laughed continuously, his expression turning scary, that kind of unhinged laugh that made even the zombies hesitate. He said that excuse him, tonight could only be a peaceful night. Our boy cracked his knuckles, new power surging through his veins, and looked at the sea of monsters before him. Peaceful for him maybe, for them not so much. Chen conjured a bottle full of power fruits, the glowing orbs materializing in his palm. He blasted the zombie in front of him and said that what was the rush, the real show was just beginning. As he ate all the fruits one after another, power surged through his body, veins glowing faintly. Quang asked what on earth he was trying to do. Chen said that he didn't care what kind of nobodies they were before they died. As he was saying that, he used the marbles to pierce through the zombies, each one finding its mark with surgical precision. Beiwei shouted that that was her ability, and Chen used electricity crackling on his hands to punch the zombies, lightning arcing with every strike, and he said that today they had fallen into his hands. The man was wearing all the infinity stones now. Zombies crowded near him, pressing in from all sides. He saw the height advantage and thought that he saw the weakness. And as he pierced all the weak points of the zombies, he said that not a single one of them could even think of running. Hao said, could it be that Chen had all of their abilities? Every single one. Quang told Chen to watch his back as a zombie approached Chen from behind. Even before the zombie could scratch him, Chen appeared behind its back and said that it had launched a sneak attack. It couldn't play fair, calling it a little piece of trash, and saying it had no strength. As he kicked the zombie into a group of others, he said that it didn't even dare to face him head-on, and he punched many zombies with a single punch, bodies flying everywhere, and said what the hell were they playing at? Quang thought that this strength was simply too terrifying. Beiwei said that he managed to show up again. Xiao crossed her arms and said what a pain being so hyperfiled would easily attract the attention of higher-ups, and maybe even lead to worse outcomes. Always thinking 3 steps ahead. Dr. Qin said that this old man believed that Chen must have reasons for doing this. Xiao's phone rang. As she said hello, the voice came. Young lady, this is bad. Panic in the voice. As Chen took care of all the zombies, the sun finally crept over the horizon, turning the sky pink. Chen stretched and said that the timing was just right. Morning had come. Xiao rushed toward Chen, her face pale, and said that there was a situation in the West District, and told him to come with her quickly. Chen, without a care, asked if it was the West District. Oh, it was his family that was in trouble. Right, and what that had to do with him. Ice cold, Xiao shouted to cut the crap and let's go. As the group was getting ready to go to the West District, the next scene we saw, Chen grabbed a phone and started recording himself. In the recording, he said he was Chen Yu, a charming, righteous, kind, academically excellent, and universally loved ability user in the apocalypse. He explained that a few days ago, when the apocalypse began, he had accidentally activated the scumbag system. As long as he slapped down scummy girls and gained their anger value, he could convert it 100-fold into usage quotas. He could buy anything he wanted in the system store and even get ability foods. Capturing the hearts of goddesses also granted him 100-fold their usage quotas, and all the supplies consumed. Then he introduced his team, which now included Zhou Quang, fallen girl Lin Beiwei and her 2 followers Chao and Fei. Chu Hao, an internet celebrity with tens of millions of fans, Gao Xiao, a young lady from a prominent family, and his lovely little sister Chen Yuqing. Dr. Chen knocked on the door and asked if little brother Chen was ready, saying it was time to hit the road. Chen, who was in the bathroom, added that he had almost forgotten there was also the academician from the genetic research field called Chin. Our boy was making a whole documentary while the apocalypse raged outside. Shen thought to himself that right then the West District where the Gao family resided had fallen. He did not know if a monster or some new person inside was causing trouble. They went to the West District, the convoy cutting through the ruined streets. Guards and a woman stepped out and told them to stop the car. The blue-haired woman knocked on the window. Xiao rolled it down and said, "It's me." The blue-haired woman recognized him as Master Gao and said there were still some monsters in the city that had not been cleared out. For safety, she would personally escort Master Gao back. She ordered them to let the car pass. Xiao thanked her and called her Major Jiang. Chen said to wait a minute and stepped outside the car. He remarked that offering courtesy without reason was clearly an attempt to send them to their deaths. The blue-haired woman's eyes narrowed, and she asked who he was. Chen snapped his fingers and told Xiao and Fei to tell her who their father was. Xiao and Fei struck a ridiculous pose and announced that he was the boss of a 3,000 square meter base, the strongest invincible ability user in the universe. Jiang thought to herself, where did this idiot come from? Her anger value increased by plus 3,009. Chen said he had heard her curse at him. Her anger value increased again, plus 5362. She told him he was courting death and came to punch him. Chen caught her hand mid-swing and proposed a bet, saying that if he beat her, she would give him her contact information. Beiwei thought that he was starting again. Classic Chen. Jiang pulled out a gun and shot him in the stomach. The crack of the gunshot echoed through the street. Everybody shouted, "Chen, my brother!" Jiang looked down at him and told him to go ask the King of Hell for it. Cold. After Jiang shot Chen, she holstered her weapon and said that this was the consequence of overestimating his abilities. Cold as the gun in her hand, Xiao stepped forward, her voice sharp as a blade, and said, "Jiang Ling, how dare she make a move right in front of her?" Jiang turned, unfazed, and said, "Miss Gao, she was a major in the military, not the Gao family's private bodyguard. She was ordered only to protect the people of the Gao family. That did not mean she took orders from her." The chain of command was clear, and Xiao wasn't in it. Hao said, even if she was the military, she could not just kill the innocent like that. Jiang said, "Innocent? If the innocent should not die, then what was the apocalypse?" Hao shot back, "This was a natural disaster. They could not control it at all." Jiang's lips curled and she said, "Was that so? Then if she killed them, they could not control that either." The logic was twisted but solid. Beiwei was angry, her fists clenched. Jiang ignored her entirely and turned to Xiao, saying, "Miss Gao, the chairman was still waiting for her. Please this way." Business as usual. Xiner sensed something wrong, her intuition firing off alarms. She conjured her speaker into her hands and said there was something wrong with this woman. They could not go with her. Jiang let out a dry laugh and said, "Heh, she really did not know what that coward Baiye was thinking. To think that she personally had to be dispatched to capture a few people like them, what bad luck." The mask was fully off now. Then a voice cut through the tension. Chen woke up, stretching like he just had a pleasant nap, and said, "Major Jiang, what a display of military might." Jiang spun around, her eyes going wide, and stammered, You were not dead." Chen mocked her, mimicking her tone perfectly, and said, You were actually alive." Jiang's face flushed with anger, and she said, "Do not think she could bark like a dog there because he dodged her bullet." Chen said, "What?" She imitated her a couple of times, and she was not happy about it. Jiang pointed her gun at them again, her finger on the trigger, and said, thinking they were superior just because they had some powers. "How unsophisticated." Qin grinned and said, "That was right. Otherwise, how would she have met him?" As Qin spoke, Jiang pulled out her gun and said that Third Master Xiao had said if Qin couldn't bring them back alive, dead was also fine. Straight to the point, Qin said that Major Jiang was dead set on being someone else's dog. As they shot a bullet toward Qin, he evaded smoothly and asked how she knew he was talking bullshit, and if it suited her taste. Qin evaded all the bullets from Jiang and her bodyguards by dancing. Actual dancing, like it was a club and not a firefight. Jiang thought she was out of bullets and looked at her gun, panic flickering across her face. Qin approached and said, "Yo, out of bullets were they, and it wouldn't matter if she screamed her lungs out that day." Jiang called him a bastard and proceeded to punch him, but the punch missed by a mile. Qin caught her hands and said, "Ouch," asking why her fists felt like cotton. Jiang got angry and tried to kick Qin, but Qin gained some distance from her, sliding back like it was nothing, and said Major Jiang was a smart person. Baiye had been defeated and fled back to the West District. He had sent her to deal with them, and he asked her to guess why. Jiang thought, damn it, she had almost fallen for Baiye's trick. The realization hit her hard. Jiang was mad. Xiao stepped forward, her voice taking on that commanding Gao family tone, and said there was a traitor in the West District. Then Major Jiang came here specifically to rendezvous with us to eliminate the traitor, right? She was giving Jiang an out, a clean way to switch sides without losing face. Jiang caught on immediately and pledged, dropping to one knee saying she was willing to serve the young miss. The guards also knelt down in unison and said they were willing to serve the young miss. Just like that, the entire squad flipped. Chen muttered to himself, shouldn't this grandstanding be exclusive to the main character? Our boy was feeling a bit upstaged. Baveway appeared beside him and asked hey, what he was muttering about. Chen said nothing, just that some people were probably about to have some bad luck. Meanwhile at the headquarters, Baye was talking to the head of the Gao family. He addressed him as Uncle Gao and said that Xiao was being insensible and he had to make the right choice for her. The assistant standing near the head said that they did not want to repeat the same thing twice and demanded to know where the young miss was. Baye said oh my, he had been staying up late a lot recently. His hearing was bad and his memory was bad too, playing dumb like a pro. A broken door flew open and Jiang came through, her boots slamming against the floor. She announced that Major Jiang Ling of the West District was reporting for duty. Baye's face lit up and he said that Major Jiang had arrived just in time. The head asked the major if she was from the military and what they were all trying to do. Baye laughed and told the head of the Gao family, calling him Gao Shixiong, that he was warning him. Just then, Xiao walked up behind him and smacked him on the head, asking who he was warning. Baye saw her and got frustrated, his eye twitching. He told Xiao not to think he was still afraid of her. Xiao slapped him left and right, asking if that was so and saying so what, as she kept slapping him. The sound was music. Baye called her a vixen and asked how she dared hit him. He said fine, since she refused his kindness today, he would force the issue and see how arrogant she could still be. Baye ordered Jiang to quickly tie the woman up and take her to a room for him, because he was going to have some fun right then. Jiang loaded her gun, the click echoing through the room and said perfect. She was not a vegetarian either. Baye laughed, missing the threat entirely, and said interesting. Today he was going to have a threesome and enjoy the pleasure of having both. Then he saw the gun aimed at his head and asked Jiang what the meaning of this was. He said he was not pointing a gun at her, so why was she pointing a gun at him? The tables had turned. Chen entered the room, strolling in like he owned the place, and said that when the trial started, Baye should bring his crappy lines with him. Baye was surprised and then became angry, his face turning purple. He said Chen, it was him again, the bastard. Then he turned toward Jiangling and said that Jiangling had actually betrayed him. The sting of betrayal was real. Chen said my apologies to Third Master Baye. He was just too kind, unlike some people who were born fated to live a long life. Baye said not to think he did not know Chen was cursing at him. Chen said oh my, it seemed the explosion had knocked some sense into the Third Master's brain. Our boy was having way too much fun. Baye laughed out louder like a psychopath, the sound bouncing off the walls, and said that they thought they were the only ones with powers. Xiao's eyes narrowed and she asked if it could be that he had found other ability users. Baye laughed and said they were scared now, were they not? He told Xiao to come upstairs with him now and become his woman. He could guarantee her safety in the apocalypse, and the Gao family would share Jiang Cheng equally with his Xiao family. He asked how about it. The man was proposing marriage in the middle of a coup. Chen thought there might be other ability users. Could it be he wasn't the only one with the system? The idea nagged at him. Xiao asked the boss if others had also obtained ability fruits. Chen thought, then said he didn't know. He decided they should try to bluff him first. He turned toward Baye and said he was the only one who could cultivate ability fruit. Had Third Master got his brain scrambled by the explosion, thinking he could scare them with just empty words? Baye laughed, a wild cackle, and said what a joke, that Chen could cultivate ability fruit. He said Chen had probably just stolen someone's ability fruit and was pretending to be powerful. Once he found that ability user, his Xiao family would possess all kinds of abilities. Forget Jiang Cheng, even the whole of China would be within their grasp. The ambition was staggering. Chen asked what big talk that was, full of hot air, and said he'd be waiting right there today. He told Third Master not to disappoint him. Our boy was practically inviting the fight. Xiaosheng, the head of the Gao family, turned to Xiao and asked who he was. Xiao replied that his name was Chen, a delivery man from Jiang Cheng. Not only had she seen him use his abilities with her own eyes, but she had also gained abilities because of him. She said it with pride. Xiaosheng turned to Old Qin and said that even if he was looking for a test subject, he should have cooperated with prominent families. Why was such important technology in the hands of a commoner? The disdain dripped from every word. Dr. Qin started saying, Master Gao, you misunderstood, but Xiaosheng cut him off and said forget it, he was just a subject, it didn't matter, just kill him. Like Chen was a bug to be squashed. Xiao stepped forward, her voice shaking, and said it wasn't what he thought. Her father asked if she, the young miss of the Gao family, had such thoughts of pity for a low-class person. Xiao said that wasn't it and begged him to listen to her. Xiaosheng's face twisted with anger, and he asked if she had fallen for this delivery man. The accusation hung in the air. Xiao said she hadn't and that her father didn't understand him. Her voice cracked. Xiaosheng declared he would finish him right now. As Xiaoshang, her father, came near with murder in his eyes, Chen raised his hands and told Master Gao that they were all on the same side and not to be rash. Her father asked who was on the same side as him, a mere delivery man wanting to climb up to the Gao family. Even if he was an ability user, that was just a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse. Bai Ye chimed in, saying exactly so. Bai Ye asked what if he had powers. When he contacted that other ability user, crushing him would be as simple as crushing an ant. Her father then ordered his men to cripple him and throw him out of the West District. Just like that, the assistant stepped forward and said to do it. Dr. Qin raised his voice and said they must not. Master said that old Qin, if he needed this subject, he had plenty here, and there was no need to waste time on this kind of person. Dr. Qin said that Master Gao had misunderstood. He had not figured out a way to obtain abilities. Her father's brow furrowed and he asked if he hadn't figured it out yet. Dr. Qin said that he thought that so far in the country, or even the whole world, perhaps only Chen could cultivate ability fruits. The room went dead silent. Her father, astounded, exclaimed, "What?" Chen clasped his hands behind his back and said that he knew it. How could a commoner like him possibly climb up to the Gao family? Her father quickly switched gears, his voice going sweet as honey, and called him his worthy son-in-law, asking him to stay. The turnaround was whiplash fast. Xiao from behind told his dad not to just shout nonsense. The assistant rushed over, calling Chen little brother Chen, then corrected himself to brother-in-law and said that just now they had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and from now on they were all family. Chen said that the Gao family's threshold was too high and he was afraid he'd take a big fall. The assistant said that he wouldn't fall, he would be a cushion for him, brother-in-law. Chen said that wouldn't do. The assistant was clearly a hidden genius. How could he condescend? The assistant said yes, brother-in-law was right. As long as he was willing to stay, he could name any condition. When Chen asked about the conditions, father told him that as long as it was something the Gao family could do, his worthy son-in-law should feel free to ask. The old man was practically handing over the keys to the kingdom. Chen asked if that was so. He thought for a moment and looked at Xiao. His eyes lingered. Xiao asked what he was looking at and told him not to even think about it. Her cheeks were already flushing. Chen said he wanted her to marry Bai Ye. The words dropped like a bomb. Bai Ye's face lit up, absolutely thrilled, and he dropped to his knees, telling his father-in-law to accept his son's bow. The man was ready with the wedding vows. Xiao's eyes blazed and she asked Chen if he was looking for death. Her voice could have cut glass. Chen said he was just kidding and asked why she was so serious. Our boy loved poking the tiger. Her father pressed on, asking him to state his condition, what it would take for him to serve the Gao family. Back to business. Chen said he was a person who could not abide gambling and drugs, and that Master Gao should understand his meaning. Her father thought a local commoner was just as expected. The old man was already judging. Bai Ye, still kneeling towards Xiao like a hopeful puppy, asked her if she saw that this little punk was not worthy of her trust at all, unlike him who was always true to her. Always true. The irony was thick enough to swim in. Xiao flicked her hand at him and told him to get lost. Bai Ye said her name sadly and looked at her with those pathetic eyes. Nobody cared. Xiao leaned in and asked his boss why, since they were so powerful now, they did not just take over the West District directly, and why they bothered working for this old geezer. Fair question. Chen explained that if he offered his allegiance willingly, they would think they had leverage over him and would lower their guard. Classic strategy. Cheo said that he knew it was called offering yourself up for the night. Chen said it was called hiding their strength and biding their time, and told him to read more when he had a chance. Cheo laughed nervously, scratching the back of his head. Her father said that he could satisfy what Chen wanted, and if he had any other needs in the future, he should just ask. The old man thought the deal was done. Chen said not to wait for the future. How about right now? The room tensed. Chen said he wanted the seat her father was sitting in. The big chair. The throne. Her father's face turned purple and he angrily said that was insolent. The mask of the friendly father-in-law crumbled in an instant.